Okay, first thing to check,
Should I also be looking at the stream?
if you want to. It might couldn't hurt, or if you want to watch the chat at least.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Hey, we're still prepping. So, can you guys see us now? Wait for delay.
So I'm gonna be totally awesome and ask, where are we streaming at?
Where are we? Oh, we're streaming. uh, either Justin TV or Twitch TV / extra credits with a S this time. So. So can you guys see us at this point? Uh, yeah, I'm gonna.
All right.
Does it show us? Can you see us?
Yes, the delay is
That's
disturbing.
no delay's fine. It's good. All right, we are seen.
All right.
Fantastic. All right, everybody. Hello. I'm Daniel. This is James, and we are doing a Q&A thing now. So our first one, so it's going to be a little rough, and I apologize that it is just a Skype chat window sort of thing that I'm showing you guys. Hang on. Skyping. Like that. But it's the best I got set up right now. The reason we're doing this is because, well, we used to like to try to answer all of our emails, but we can't answer all our emails anymore. And we still like to do mailbag episodes, but we don't come out with them often enough to answer nearly as many questions as we get. So I thought this would be a fun thing to do every now and then, just to answer some questions and such. So I have some prepared that you guys were awesome enough to send in advance, and I'm going to kind of be watching the chat here and sort of half moderating, half answering questions at the same time. So, welcome. One thing I want to try here, and the setup here is still kind of experimental, so you guys can tell me what is good or not. I'm going to try turning on music, like remixes, very quietly, and you guys need to tell me if that's like how the sound balance sounds. So I'm kind of turning something on now, and you can tell me. That's too loud. But and you can tell me how that sounds. So I will watch for like 20 seconds. First, can you hear it? Second, can you it good. Wow, everyone says it sounds good. First try. Look at that. All right. So good. Wow, everyone says it sounds good. First try. Oh, now I hear myself. All right. So, what was I saying? All right. Do you want to just get started, or James? Do you want to say anything, or no?
No, I'm good. Let's just run with it.
Cool. All right. Allison might show up if I see Allison in Skype, then I'll try getting her into it. But she is working pretty hard lately, so I don't know if she'll be able to make it. Sorry, but you know what? Let's just get to questions. We've waited long enough. So, let's see. First question: how did you guys begin? Did you know each other long before extra credits, or was it that you were brought together with a common goal? Like, when did Allison enter the team? Did you go looking for an artist, or did you already know her? Just how did it start? James, you want to start with that one?
All right. Actually, I love this story. So, how I experienced this starting was I used to write a lot for industry-facing publications, things like Edge, Gamma Sutra, that sort of thing. And I'd long been looking for some way to talk to a consumer because, I mean, talking to you guys is actually a lot more important. And we need to sort of get out of this silo that the industry is in. And I remember I was sitting at my desk at Activision, and I got a email from some student at Savannah College of Art and Design, and it said, "Hey, I'm using one of your articles as the main part of my final project. How do you pronounce your last name?" And so I wrote him and said, "Hey, can you send it to me afterwards? I would love to see it." And a week or so later, I get this video from Dan, obviously, and it's great. I'm just floored, right? Because this is exactly what I've been looking for. This is how, this is the right way to communicate. And so I tell him, yeah, not only that, but if you want to do more of these, go use any of my articles that you find. Just have total license. And a couple days later, a couple weeks later, I was like, how about I just start writing for this? And after that, eventually we got picked up by major sites, and we had to start producing them one a week. And since Dan's full-time employed and I'm full-time employed, there's no way we can do this. And so I said, well, there's exactly one person I know who can turn out this much art every week. And Allison had worked with me in a previous company. And so I contacted Allison, and she was like, yeah, I dig doing that. So that's how she got brought on board.
Yep, and I'm glad she did, because, again, there's no way we could do this, probably even once a month, if it were just me doing the art. So I'm amazed that she gets it done once a week. It's impressive. But things are actually working like right now, which I'm like really impressed things are working right now. So anyway, next question. So and it's kind of closely related. Was there like a particular moment when you felt the subject matter and discussion points of the show were needed in the gaming industry? Like what made you want to turn this into a regular show thing, or was it more driven by personal interest? And also, did you ever think the show was going to be this popular at some point?
Am I fielding that one?
I'm asking most of these, but all right, I got to remember I can actually answer them too. I started it because it wasn't a show when I started it. I was just starting. Yeah, it wasn't a show when I started it. I was just starting a thing for a project so I could get a good grade for my paper and oral presentation. And then I just did it twice just because it was kind of fun and it was a unique sort of presentation. But I don't know, I just enjoyed it, and then I got in touch with James, and then I decided to do more because it was still kind of fun, and it was just a fun little side project. And then James at one point came up to me, like you said, and he said he'd wrangled a thing with The Escapist, and we could actually do this weekly, which just I was like, I hadn't planned for or expected, but I was like, okay. And no, I didn't expect it to be popular like at all. Like I thought some people will probably get into it, but I had no idea how this was going to be received. But needless to say, I'm still surprised. Like every time we go to like MagFest or PAX or some such thing, and there are hundreds of people in a room to see us. Like there are that many people who watch it, and thousands more. That kind of blows my mind still. So I don't know. Did you think this show was going to be received well?
I actually had no idea. I figured we'd just roll the dice, right? Because
yeah.
It was my hope, and I mean, actually, I'm very proud that it has been. But when we put it out there, I wasn't sure whether or not people would be interested in a higher level of dialogue about games. But clearly, I mean, here all you guys are, right? And I really do think that not really the stuff that we've done, but all the conversations that people have started around this has made a difference. I mean, I've seen the conversation within the industry be elevated, so it's blown me away.
Absolutely. All right, here's one from chat. Are you actually watching the chat? Hey, Dan. Yes, I'm watching the chat. And I'm going to try to do a mix of questions, both from the pre-prepared list and from the chat. I just have the list here so I don't spend like 20 seconds at a time just pausing and looking at chat and saying, where else is a good question? Like I did for that first thing I did. So anyway, let's see. James, do you ever attend any Digipen festivals?
Depends what you mean by festival. But I mean, I go to most of the Digipen events. And go to most of the conferences that they hold at the school. But to be honest, I don't know how much they'll appreciate me saying this, but most days of the week, if you pop in, you can probably catch me somewhere wandering the halls of Digipen. I hope that answers the question.
Close enough, I think. Do we think of anything? What do we think of the mega upload removal? I think it kind of sucks because it was my go-to for whenever my own website hosting was down and I had to get the episode to Penny Arcade TV like yesterday. So I just need to find a new one, but kind of sucks.
For me, it's my conspiranoia, and I totally know it, but the timing is so perfect to give all the senators who had to withdraw their support from this bill a good out, and allow them all to say that clearly SOPA isn't needed, and so since the current law works, of course they're going to pull their support from SOPA. But that's probably, as I said, my own paranoia.
Maybe so. Chat's telling me that Mediafire and Dropbox are good alternatives. So Dropbox is what we use, just kind of like between the three of us, just like passing the episode in progress around and things like that. But I may set up a specific Dropbox just for getting the stuff to Penny Arcade TV. Maybe that's a better system than Mega Upload. Anyway.
File Dropper is also really good.
File Dropper. Okay. Yeah. I'm learning things too. What attitudes or experiences made each of you want to take part in extra credits? Like talking about games as an artistic medium where it's gone wrong, where it has potential and such.
So, at least for me, I just felt like this conversation was important, right? That as an industry, we don't tend to... we've been hiding behind this idea that games are a children's pastime for a long time. And yet we're a mass medium. There's just no way you can argue. More people spend more time, at least in the United States, playing video games than they do watching movies, or reading books, or pretty much any other form of media consumption. So at that rate, we have to start seriously thinking about this medium and what we can say with it, what we can do with it, and how it impacts society. So I guess that's what really got me fired up to try and charge at this thing every week.
Yeah, and the thing that makes me keep doing it and wanted to do something like it in the first place, again, it was a project at the time, but it was me just kind of starting to have that interest that I think a lot of everyone who really watches the show and enjoys it has as well, that kind of interest in seeing games be a little better than they are, or just playing some game that gives them a hint at like some future potential that things that games could be really good at some point. And so that's kind of what made me interested in the topic enough to write a paper and do a video about it, and then keep doing it, and then eventually like keep making videos for other people who have that same interest. So I'm glad there are so many people who have that same interest. It still surprises me. James, what game was it that first really got you interested in the idea of creating them for a living?
So I've told this story periodically. It's not really the one that got me interested in creating them for a living. It's what got me, hooked on games. But when I was, I think 5, I was living in Seattle, and which is the home of Nintendo America, amongst other things. And I remember my mom took me out and didn't tell me where we were going, but we went down to, for you guys who know, the Old Kingdom, the big stadium there, and right next to it was the center house. Not the center house, the exhibition hall, and it's this fairly plain-looking large building next to the stadium. And we walk in, and it's Nintendo of America World's Fair, and I'm of course super excited. But we take a lap around the thing, and they're showing all sorts of games, and we walk by all of them, and finally, sort of near the back, there's this game called Final Fantasy. I remember they crossed weapons over the city in a crystal ball, and I was like, I gotta play that. And we waited in line for like 20-30 minutes, and my mom's like, are you sure you don't want to try other things? Because the line was, even though it was short, it was taking forever. We didn't have this whole convention thing down at all. So no, I'm sold. I want to see this thing. So 30 minutes later, an hour in, we get up to the front of the line. By this point, there's pretty much nobody else waiting, actually. And I'm sitting there playing it. It takes me like 45 minutes to beat Garland, right? And so, of course, I think that's the whole game, right? Like I've killed the evil lord. I've saved the princess. So I go back to the town, and they tell me, we're going to open up the bridge for you. And I remember stopping and crossing that bridge and hearing that music swell and seeing the text roll up, and that picture, which was, now looked ridiculous, but was gorgeous for the time, and realizing there's a whole world out there for me to explore. And in that moment, that was it, right? I was sold. I think that's the thing that set me on video games for the rest of my life.
Nice. I've always liked that answer. Let's see. What's up with your voice acting episode? Haven't you mentioned it like for 2 years straight? Yes, we have, and still in limbo. I need to email the guy again about getting some people for it. Thank you for reminding me. Let's see. Did you guys ever consider moving to Screw Attack after the incident?
Do you want me to field it?
Yes, do.
I mean, the short answer is yes, right? Like, Craig's awesome. All those guys are awesome.
Yep.
We love all of them. On the other hand, so are the Penny Arcade guys, right? And Robert's been great, and all the Penny Arcade folks have been fantastic to us. And so we're very, very happy where we are, but Robert's been incredible, and I asked him the other week, hey, would it be possible to share the show with some other sites and get the message broader? And he said yes. We're going to give them 2 weeks exclusivity, so the shows will always appear first on Penny Arcade, but sites like Screw Attack and that sort of thing are also going to help get the word out, which is amazing.
Yep. Yeah, so the episodes should be showing up on Screw Attack pretty soon, shouldn't they? Like, up to like 2 weeks away from it.
Craig and I got totally sidetracked and slammed with all the SOPA stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we get it together and get on it, the answer is yeah, they'll be up.
The voice actor episode is extra credits version of Duke Nukem Forever. Nice. That's
well. I think that may be more apt.
Well said. Yes, that's. But that's gonna have to go in the closing comments for whenever that episode does come out.
Oh yeah.
Okay, what have we got? What are some of your favorite projects you've worked on and why?
God, it was a really good time at Activision right around the Modern Warfare period, but God, I can't talk about my favorite project because it's the one I'm currently working on. I'm working on stuff for schools right now that maybe what I want to do with the rest of my life. I thought we were going to be able to announce a long time ago, but the speed of the that's not the speed of video games. So I don't know when I'm going to be able to talk about that project. But
This is where I grin all smug because I know what he's talking about and I'm excited about it, but none of you do. So, yes, now I'm a douche.
Game of the week question, and since I actually have an answer for this one, I totally say we field that.
Which one?
So, what's your game of the week?
Our game of the week. Oh, I see. I haven't been able to play a game all week. I've been working overtime a lot. But, I'm desperately trying to finish Skyward Sword within the next 16 hours, because somebody wants me to come on and do a podcast about it. So I'm fighting the clock. So as soon as this is over, that's what I'm going to be going and doing.
Nice. I hope it's an all-nighter. So my game of the week, I was actually shocked and blown away. So I kind of like Paradox because A, they get their games out for like $0. B, they're all insanely innovative or just insane. But their new release, right? I was a big fan of the first King Arthur in theory, and in practice, it was quite bad. The new one is I
Uh-oh. We got a pause.
that said, did we just lose me?
No, yeah, you just lagged a bit, but you're back. We're good.
Anyway, King Arthur 2 has amazingly cool, in-depth moral choices. They're hardcore moral choices. Like, some of them last probably 5 minutes of straight dialogue and making choices. But, and it's, I mean, the gameplay's not bad, the leveling system's fun, the world's good, like, it's a lot more refined. And so I'd love to just throw that one out there and say, maybe not worth it at full price, but the first time there's a Steam sale and it's like 50% off, it's totally worth whatever that is.
Alright, did the stream die? Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Hold on.
Wait, looks like I'm back.
Is the stream itself, like, are you watching the stream itself? I'm not turning it on.
I'm watching the stream.
Oh, is it, are we back? So, okay, it says we're back. Yeah,
Oh,
guys, if you guys do see like the stream itself completely die, like both of us stop moving and talking, then like let me know because I'm not watching it so that the sound doesn't carry through to. And yeah,
I just got it muted. Although it's super disconcerting watching me on the Skype window like 2 seconds after I talk, and on the stream window like 10 seconds after I talk.
Okay. Well, yeah. If you see it just die or cut out or something, let me know, and we'll get things working again. Anyway, new question. Let's see.
Oh,
This one's to me, huh? What's that?
okay. I just want to make sure there was another request for talking about the indie fund, and I would want to make sure we touch on that because people didn't answer.
Let's do it now because that was going to be pretty. That was going to be in a couple questions anyway. So let's talk about that.
Cool. So basically, as far as the indie fund goes, it was a lot easier to say, "Hey, let's start a publisher," than to actually start a publisher. So we just finished getting all the legal work and the paperwork done to incorporate and get everything in place. So we're finally about to start looking at games. We've talked about it, and we're going to limit the selection to some degree because basically we want to make sure we get this first game right, and so it has to be people that we know we can work with, that we think have a proven track record, all these sort of things that are going to make sure that this money, it doesn't go to waste, because we're really concerned about getting a game built stuff. And but you're going to see announcements on it on the Extra Credit site soon, and from there we're just got to keep running with it. You'll start hearing about it probably in about 4 or 5 weeks.
Yes. So this one's to me actually. What effect exactly do I apply to my voice? Is it sped up or is the pitch merely changed? And what's the intent behind the voice modulation for the show? It used to be that I sped it up a little bit and I pitched it up a good deal. I don't really speed it up much anymore. I mostly just pitch it up, and not as much as I used to. I think I found kind of if you listen to like the early YouTube videos compared to what we're doing now, it's actually a pretty decent pitch difference. Like you can actually tell it's a lot higher there. But I think I found kind of a nice sweet spot where it sounds like a different voice than mine, but not so high that it's super irritating. The reason I've told this story a few times, but the reason why the pitch increase happened in the first place was because this music keeps distracting me. I like it too much. The reason the pitch thing, pitch thing happened in the first place was because, again, I was making the first video as a project for school, and I was supposed to give a 10-minute oral presentation, but I decided to be clever and do the little zero punctuation style video instead. But when I did it, I mean, it had to be exactly 10 minutes long. That was one of the rules, and I ended up going like 30 seconds or more longer than I was supposed to. And by that point, I was really tired, so I just decided, screw it, and I screwed it. And I squeezed the video to a smaller size, pitch bent it up to fit 10 minutes exactly, which resulted in a higher pitch voice because I didn't know how to operate sound stuff properly and didn't realize you could just speed something up without pitching it up. But I actually kind of liked the result and stuck with it. I like that the little character has his own voice separate from mine, and it also helps a little bit to disguise the sort of sketch recording quality equipment and environment I have here. And yeah, I don't know. And you can hear my real voice right now, and it's nothing to write home about. So I figure my options are like slightly irritating or slightly slightly boring. And so I decided to just go with irritating. And
I think you were totally fine if we ever do another show. But I mean, it is part of the brand, right? So I think we should. I mean, I like it. I think we should run with it.
Yeah. And every time I like to like ask people in chat and like and at panels, like, oh, should I change it? Do you guys like it better? They all unanimously say no. So we'll keep it. Let's see. If one had a completed independent title, how would you suggest going about getting it published? That's more for you.
All right, so you got a completed title. Once you have a completed title, it's a little bit easier to pitch because basically people are willing to look at a demo. To me, if you've got an independent title, the absolute best way to get it published, though, is depending on what platform, but put it up on Steam, put it up on one other digital distribution outlets. Many of them are very amenable to independent work. Or if it's Flash, put it up on Congregate, one of those. And when you can say, I have 100,000 downloads, when you can say, I have sold $1 million worth or whatever, even if that revenue isn't directly coming back to you. Or even if you're just giving it away and you've gotten a lot of people to download your game, to like it, to talk about it. Publishers are very willing to hear anything that has numbers. And so that's where you should start your email to your publisher. Beyond that, make sure you get press. Everything from Jay's Games to the more mainstream sites like IGN, that sort of thing, will, especially on Slow News Week, look at and review these games. Again, with press, it helps if you have a lot of numbers behind your game. So if you can get it out to a distributor of some form, if you have some way for people to actually see it, download it, and start experiencing it, that's going to help you a great deal.
All right. Next question. Maybe I missed it, but I haven't heard much on the Rocket Hub overflow.
I just lost you.
Uh-oh. Oh, am I gone? I still have me. I still see you. Well, I did. Now I lost you. Uh-oh. Ah! That's no good. That's unfortunate. Can you hear me? Did the whole thing cut out, or Alright, so they can still hear, it's just... So is it just Skype going down? Technology. We lost Jane. Whoa.
Wait. Am I back?
Yes, audio-wise.
Let me try... Oh, here, video. And... You got me?
Yes!
Yes!
Alright.
Cool.
We are back. Alright. What was I saying? Yes. Maybe I missed it, but I haven't heard much on the Rocket Hub overflow, indie games funding front. I think we can get an insight into the progress, or at least an update. We already talked about the indie fund thing, but Rocket Hub-wise, I'm actually hearing a bit of an echo. Can you turn your speakers down just slightly? Because I think it's coming from you.
Tell me if that's any better.
Yes, that's much better, I think.
Even more?
Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure why it was...
Alright, I've got you pretty quiet now.
Okay. Weird. Anyway. Yeah, the Rocket Hub thing. We are done with the t-shirts, so that's a big achievement. See, there's a few remaining prizes that are, I think, in the works right now. Like, oh man. Well, I'm assuming you guys can still hear me, so I'm going to keep talking while I keep getting this back up and running. Ta-da! Okay. So, Rocket Up thing. Where was I? Oh, come on. Clearly, I need to figure out a better setup for this, but I'll forget it. Anyway, point is, Rocket Hub stuff. We got we got the t-shirts taken care of. We are working on things like getting a character into the episode. We're working, angrily typing. You okay?
Alright.
Look.
I think good.
This is good. This keeps us on our toes. But the Donator episode we have written, and got it ready for recording. I think I might have even recorded it. But we just need to wait for an opening where Allison can do the art for it, and then we're gonna get that done. The people's names will be in the credits of that one. It'll be a nice long credit sequence.
So good. Thank you, everybody, by the way.
Yes, yes.
That was one of the most incredible days of my life.
Totally. No, I stayed up very late that day just watching like the numbers go up and up and just staring with my mouth open at it, just like mind-blowing. But yes. So it's in progress. There are still a few prizes, things like prints of Allison's artwork that I think we're still like getting in touch with people for. But most of the stuff for the Allison reward thing is taken care of. And now that like getting the t-shirts done, that turned out to be a really big deal because, again, tons of people, way more than we expected, so it became a pretty big ordeal. But now that we got that out of the way, we can actually start putting more attention into things like the Indie Fund and getting stuff working. And yes, so things are going. They're moving forward. Let's see here. I guess we sort of answered this already. It was how did I find James, and how did we meet, and also why did you decide on a team of 3 in creating the show? I guess we kind of already answered that. I didn't actually get to meet you until like GDC one year, like after we'd done a bunch of them on YouTube.
Yeah, and I think I was a huge jerk because like I had to dash from place to place, so you were like chasing me around the conference center as I had to run between meetings.
Well, that was a good preview for what to expect because, like, again, you get into networking mode, and I was glad that we got to like at least meet and got to do like a quick lunch and stuff like that. It was good. I didn't meet Allison.
Hanging out at MagFest was cool though.
Yes,
that was really cool.
MagFest was a lot of fun because we got to actually just hang out because it was a much more laid back, it's like con. Yeah. So
actually, if I can promote anything, like MagFest is unreasonably cool.
MagFest, you guys. Yes.
I encourage you all.
Yes, go to MagFest. Absolutely. Their new venue is awesome, by the way. You should, if for no other reason.
I keep seeing a lot of questions about game development schools.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about that.
We're probably going to put together an episode on this, although, I mean, honestly, I think we'll be in a huge amount of trouble because I have very strong opinions on this. Mm-hmm. To me, there are a group of schools which are fundamentally criminal. Basically, make sure it's not a 2-year school. Make sure it's not a franchise school like DeVry or the Art Institute. Some of the Art Institutes can be okay, but a lot of them, unfortunately, are subpar. Make sure to check into their accreditation because a lot of these places aren't actually really highly accredited, which means that when you try and transfer to another school, your credits mean nothing, right? And your diploma means nothing. And so for a lot of these places, you have people coming out with $100,000 of debt, right? And it's school debt, which means that you can't even bankrupt out of it. And this debt doesn't get you anything, right? You're left with a meaningless piece of paper. So that said, I mean, the other thing is, if somebody's trying to recruit you for the school, be very wary because there are several of these schools that have paid recruiters that have no entrance requirements at all. Anybody who can pay gets in, and their recruiters are paid a commission for everyone who they get to sign the loan papers. I mean, to me, that's actually criminal. For schools, I would recommend first, don't write off a traditional university. If you are, especially if you're going for CS, if you're going for computer science, there are a lot of excellent schools. MIT, CMU, Stanford. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? If you're looking for something like design or production, there are a lot of avenues open to you. Right now, I know no designers or producers who went through a game school because they just didn't exist. That said, there are a couple of really good game schools. I believe very much in DigiPen, obviously. We had a long conversation on if I was going to join on board and help teach there, what the program had to be. It had to be the Juilliard, right? It had to be a conservatory rather than one of these mills. The SCAD, of course, is good. If you are looking for a master's, the Entertainment Technology Center is excellent, as is Guildhall. If you're looking to become a level designer, Guildhall is the best place to become a level designer. It's not very good for everything else because they don't focus on anything else. They focus on making you a killer level designer, and they're good at it. And then, of course, USC. So I hope that helps people who are looking towards game schools. I hope that helps some of you guys avoid some of the places that are trapped. Really look into this. It's a big decision, and there's a huge variance in the quality of education you're going to get.
It's funny, the entire time you were talking about like getting like people, like the sad stories of people going into these colleges and like racking up tons of debt, not being able to get a job. It was playing a remix of like the DuckTales like moon level, like really triumphant and happy, which was like a really sad contrast. So anyway, James, what do you do at DigiPen?
So I keep getting roped into doing more and more. This semester, I'm teaching the master's level games production. I am teaching the sophomore level game design, and I am helping them put together a curriculum and running the design club. But principally, I mean, I teach production at the master's level and design, and my courses are rough. I mean, the amount that I make my students do is incredibly tough. On the other hand, I keep in all my courses with he's a finalist in IBC on a game that he did in 1 month. So hopefully you get something out of it. But yeah, design and production.
Okay. You're breaking up just a tad here, so I'll see if the connection gets a little better, and I'll find one that's for me. Specifically.
I don't know why Skype is like this.
I don't know. Like it just seems to be your own luck with Skype, honestly. Let's see. Which older game would you most like to see remade, reimagined, updated, rebooted? I don't know. Personally, it's not old, but I always wish that Okami would get a full, glorious HD re-release. And I know it's on the Wii, but
So for me, I was really happy to hear that the real XCOM, that their strategy turn-based XCOM is getting a real makeover. But System Shock 2, I would love to see if they had System Shock 2.
That would be something. Let's see. The video I'm getting from you is definitely. You want to try like killing the video and bringing it back?
Sure. And I'm gonna kill my connection actually for like 5 seconds, but I'll be right back.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys for putting up with our technical stuff. Oh, all right. Skype. Let's see. Any of you guys got something? See, I wanted to move to Google Hangout. That's a good option, but it wasn't going to play nice with my audio setup here. So, yeah. Anyway, enjoy the lovely music. I'm going to look for a good question here. How long does it take to make a video from the first idea to uploading it? Let's see. Well, I don't know. James writing the episodes, it tends to be kind of a like he has a ton that are half finished on his machine at any given time. But he'll send me a script. I'll probably, it could be anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple months before we'll actually air the episode. Just enjoy the Skype window. Oh, here, I'll minimize it. That'll be, have a nice picture. So, what was I talking about? Yes, James sends me a script, and then I will work on the revision for it. I'll get it, I will send it back and forth with him a couple times. Once we finally get what we like, we'll try to have the revision locked down at least a week and a half before, it's at least a week and a half before it comes out. And, so I'll get it recorded, usually like on a Monday or Tuesday night. I'll get all the music picked out and do all that stuff. And then I will send it over to Allison, who takes about a week to get the art done. And then, theoretically, she would send it back to me. I would do all the editing work and just adding the credits and doing all that other stuff. Save out the final video render and send it up and send it to Penny Arcade a few days before it goes live. But because we just constantly are running behind, that whole thing happens usually the night before it's supposed to go live, usually a few hours before it's supposed to go live. So usually I will that's God bless the Penny Arcade guys for being patient with us. I will send them the video like a couple hours before it's supposed to go live, and they'll get it all done and figured out. And oh, James is calling me.
Hey, can you see me?
I can hear you and see. Oh, that's a lot better.
Okay,
Success. Look at that, guys.
I'll bet this lasts for a good 8 minutes.
I will. I'll plan ahead for this in the future, and I'll come up with a nice, good background image to minimize to in the future.
You should just throw my bean person in there.
I should do that. There we go. Just have Allison draw a picture of you and me sitting at microphones answering things. Anyway, let's answer a question while we have you. What are your favorite video games?
So, to me, this will be rough to some of you guys, but I feel like as a designer, if you can answer that question, you haven't played enough video games. I can tell you what, I might be able to tell you what my favorite RPGs are, or my favorite strategy games. I can probably tell you what my top 10 strategy games from turn-based strategy games from like 90 to 2000 are. But man, if you want me to give you a top 10 or top 5 list of video games, it'll change based on the day and my mood.
I kind of feel the same
So
way.
how do you like that dodge?
That was clever, very evasive. I always default to Psychonauts because like I'm not a designer by any stretch, but I do have like I play a little of every genre and usually try to find the best ones of every genre, so I end up having kind of like just a whole shelf full of favorites, like like a whole big shelf full of favorites. So yes.
So good.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so yes, I have a lot of favorite games. This is an interesting question, and see if I can find it. What are our favorite and least favorite episodes we've done so far, and why? That's an interesting one.
My favorite episode that we did was actually the EA episode.
That was a good one. Good call.
I mean, it both I felt like made a difference, right? They heard us, and I mean, it needed to be said. And then internally, I thought it was one of the best times of just like us all really working hard together to all fit those pieces and get it done right in the nick of time. So I enjoyed that episode a great deal. I'm trying to think of what my least favorite episode is. Meanwhile, I'll toss the hand grenade your way.
Currently, I'm sure if I went through it, I could actually pick out my real least favorite. Currently, my least favorite is the one that's going to be coming out this week. Not because it's bad, but because it's been such an enormous pain. All right, so spoiler warning, we're going to be... Next Wednesday is going to be our SOPA episode. As many of you are well aware, it's a little late and not quite as relevant as it used to be. And we were trying to keep this episode up to date as much as we could, so we had it in a state of being finished like 3 or 4 times. And I had there were times when I had finished it, recorded it, sent it to Allison, and then something would happen, like something big and important that would completely invalidate like a third of what we said. And then we went back and I would rewrite it and I would re-record it and send it to Allison, and then something else would happen. And then it would get shelved, and then it would get sort of unshelved maybe, and then and now here we are. So it's I think at this point we're just going to put like a little pre-script sort of thing saying some of this is out of date. And that's that. But that is the hazard of doing topical stuff, I guess.
So I'm going to grab this one about the snowpocalypse for all you folk in Seattle. So I didn't. The reason that I look like a train wreck is because I actually had stuff to do in San Francisco this weekend. And so I had a 8 p.m. flight on Thursday, which got delayed to an 8 a.m. flight on Friday, which got me to San Francisco by way of Dallas, Texas. So how I dealt with it was very slowly flee the state.
Oh, here's one. Did we ever hear anything back from the Calawarez people after the? That might be one of my favorite episodes, actually.
The Calawarez, if it hadn't bothered me so much to like go through that game and like what it said, right? Because I really had a hard time. I can't find anything good about it, right? And with the EA episode, I could at least look back and say, I mean, there's a clear path, right? Like there was something great these guys once did. The Call of Juarez one, I just like slogging through that was so tough.
Oh, oof. Let's see here. So, digital downloads are the future. How long do you think the hard copy is going to continue to exist?
One more console cycle.
Really? Only one?
Yeah, one more console cycle. I will say it now.
Nice.
I don't know if that's actually true, but if I had to wager on it, right? Like if somebody said you have to choose, I think you're going to see one more console cycle with physical copies being the main form of distribution. And then after that, it'll be principally digital.
I can see that happening, yeah. So, do you think mobile games in the future will trend toward like deeper stories and immersion, or do you think it'll stay more kind of along the line of the casual hobby-style games of just passing time?
You got to field one sooner or later. I feel like I'm stealing all these. But
a lot of these are good for you, and this is also lets me kind of play moderator at the same time, so that's good. Go ahead.
As far as casual games, I mean, as far as mobile games go, actually, the mobile games industry to me is fantastic for one thing. Unlike the AAA industry, they understand that you can both make small casual games and major AAA releases, right? Like, I recently got an iPad and looked at Infinity Blade 2, the new Assassin's Creed, the Dark Meadow, a lot of these really AAA games, and yet they're on the same device as games which have NES-era graphics, right? And were put out for, maybe $10,000. And so what's amazing to me is you look at the Xbox, you look at the PS3, think about how many 2D games you've seen on those consoles. There's nothing wrong with 2D. You can get some great art. I mean, we have some beautiful 2D products out there. And yet we've somehow convinced ourselves that we just can't do that on a modern console. So to me, I think mobile is going to expand, especially if you include tablets and that sort of thing. Yes, mobile. But I think that you will still see that there's a market out there for smaller mobile games, cheaper mobile games that are that perhaps don't have the production refinement, or perhaps targeted towards a more casual audience.
All right. I've heard that free-to-play games are hurting the industry. What's your opinion on that? This is funny, given what the particular thing I was revising script-wise just before this. Who's off screen?
So, I'm hanging out with the marketing manager from Gala Networks, G Potato.
Oh, nice. Hi.
Who I would love to sub it over here, but I won't, because I know that I would make her risk breaking NDAs, and I absolutely won't do that.
Let's not do that.
But I will give my opinion.
Okay.
Free to play is awesome. Free to play is great for everybody, but not necessarily the way that a lot of companies are doing it right now. There are a lot of rushed products, a lot of poorly translated products, all that sort of thing, that don't necessarily do service to the consumer. That said, I think you're going to see a new wave of them shortly. I think you're going to see real AAA games that are monetized principally through a microtransaction in-game basis. And I think at that moment, everyone's going to see the power of free-to-play. We may do an episode on this at some point, because it's something that I'm very interested in. But I have this thought and theory that really the best way to do free to play is in the EULA say, hey, you can pay for stuff in our game, or you can agree to give us 5% of your processing power, and we'll just give you currency. Nice. And so that way nobody has to pay for the game at all, because they're using a little bit of your processor and a little bit of everybody else's processor to crunch numbers for cancer research or for NASA or for whomever, and that those third parties are buying this very valuable CPU time. And so that underwrites the development, so the consumer actually has to pay nothing. I really do think there's a true free-to-play out there. But that's speculation. Nobody's doing it yet.
All right. This one's from chat. Are there any topics you are personally eager to address in an upcoming episode? I'm looking forward to our So You Want to Be a Developer two-parter with the guys at Stack Exchange, which we promised that one like a while back, and they have sent us like a draft to start with, and it was a big one and full of really good stuff. So we're actually going to make it a two-parter, probably in about a month, roughly. So I'm looking forward to that one though, because it's good.
As far as I go, I really want to talk about religion in games. I'm just waiting for a game that really solidly addresses it, and we may be waiting a while at this rate.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too. I think a lot of other people are. Several people asked about it, actually. So this one asks, why are free-to-play and subscription models my only two choices for MMOs, like excluding Guild Wars, I guess? I'd like something more like a mix. I want to be able to buy a game and have access to the game's world without having to sink money into a monthly subscription. I'd like to have a choice of subscribing to access additional content, like end-game instances and PvP instances. Is this model like a little too ambiguous to sell to consumers, or is it too risky, or is there just is there another model type out there?
It blows my mind that SWTOR, that Star Wars wasn't that particular model, because this may be somewhat controversial, but to me it's a little bit further from an MMO than most MMOs, and it's a little bit closer to being 8 single-player campaigns than anything else I've seen, right? And so I was kind of surprised that they didn't just sell us those campaigns and not try to maintain a $15 a month subscription, because I'm actually not sure how viable $6 for a box and a $15 a month subscription is for a game that's very narrative heavy, right? That has an arc, and when you're done with that arc, I'm not sure how sustainable it will be. I could be way off on that one. Who knows? We're going to see the evolution of that game. It's going to be very interesting.
Do you think a racing MMO could work? Someone asks.
Kart Rider all the way.
Yep. Oh, we mentioned that one in our episode way back too. I think it was our second episode. Do you have any thoughts on the Wii U or its controller? How do you think it'll be used? I haven't seen anything since the E3 thing, so I don't know if you've seen more than I have, but
I've heard stuff that I don't know whether or not I can say. I think that it's the right... I think it may actually even be the right idea with the very wrong execution. I am concerned from what I've seen about it, about the actual viability of that particular product. That said, I think they're trying to get the console away from being a block of plastic that sits on your desk, and I think we're going to have to start thinking more that direction.
True. Oh, this is a good one. How does someone go about starting their own game studio?
Oh, man. So, there are lots of ways to do it. But basically it boils down to, do you want to bootstrap or do you want to raise money? I personally believe in the bootstrap method better. There's just a lot more that it gives the creators as far as control. But if you're going to bootstrap, save up some money, get some buddies together who can do each of the roles. Try to put out something super small, right? Put out an iPhone game or something else that you can get up, get done, get some practice, and maybe even get some revenue coming in. If that's successful, if people like it, if people are willing to continue, then think about quitting your day jobs and all renting a loft somewhere. And just start hammering on it. And one of you guys is going to have to do the job that I very often had to do, which isn't the most fun, of doing the business development, right? Of rather than working on your own game, making sure that the money's going to come in, when the game gets done. And so going out there, going to all the conferences, shaking hands with everybody, talking to all the business people at Microsoft and Sony and EA, Activision, all these things, finding home for your game. So, if you've got that person and you've got a team of talented, dedicated people, that's really all you need to start a company. The rest of it's very simple, very similar to any other corporation that you're going to start up. If you're going to raise money, go start reading all the VC blogs and all the God, I'm trying to remember the name of the one that I'm blanking on it now. I'm sorry. But go read everything. Go look into buzzwords. Go read all of what's hot in the VC community, and formulate your pitch around the sort of things that they believe will get a company sold. Because the one danger with a VC group is that their motivation is essentially to get the company sold as quickly as possible, because that's how they make their money. It's great. It's fantastic. It's a lot of what drives the innovation that we do get, but it's tough. I would just put a warning out there to anyone going that route that you probably saw a lot of these big MMO companies blow up in the last couple of years, companies that were trying to put out 6, 8, 10 MMOs at a time, AAA MMOs, which is totally crazy. And this is because when Warcraft had come out, the VC community had thought, that's $1 billion a year, but realized that it was a single product, right? It's very hard to sell a company based on a single product. It's much easier to sell a company based on a platform that you can show is repeatable over time. And so they would put in a great deal of money into these companies. But with the demand that they release a great number of MMOs almost simultaneously. This is clearly the wrong way to go about it, but that's one of the dangers. On the other hand, if you feel like you want to produce a AAA game to begin with, it's hard, but you're going to have to go for that type of money. Anyway, that was too much on that.
No, that's cool. Let's see. Someone had a good question here. Let's see if I can find it again. Oh, yes. Do you think that Square Enix will ever make a good RPG ever again?
So I've clearly answered a lot of questions in the recent past.
Okay. I hope that Square Enix will make a good RPG ever again. I played the demo for 13. Did you get to play the demo for 13.2 yet?
Haven't even gotten to look at it.
Okay.
It's on my list.
I've played it, and I didn't like 13 much either, but and it's not really done. It's got features in it that I wish 13 had, but it's still at its core. I never liked the battle system that much, and so it's really not doing enough to pull me in. But this is probably around the first time that I've not had a Square Enix game or a Final Fantasy game specifically that I was immediately looking forward to, which kind of bums me out a bit. But
so all I'm going to say is that the answer is yes. The next time they revive the Chrono franchise.
There you go. Yes. I was saying this at MagFest. It's so weird to me that Square Enix as a company is the only game company I'm aware of that has numerous franchises that they could milk for an easy buck so easily, but that they steadfastly refuse to. Like Final Fantasy VII is the one that everyone goes to, right? And that's true. They could make so much money. But then, Kingdom Hearts, they're just doing little handheld spin-off things, and people are getting bored of that. If they could just do Kingdom Hearts 3 so easily. They could do the third Chrono game. They could do another. Do they still have the Xeno franchise? Because they handed that to Namco for a while, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm not actually sure about, because that was Xenosaga, and I'm actually not sure how those rights got split. So they may actually have Xenogears. But they have The World Ends With You, they have Vagrant Story, they have the Tactics franchises, they have they even have the Parasite Eve, which they just drove into the ground with that PSP release, but luckily nobody bought it, so I still hope that can be revived.
Yeah, I'm putting my iTunes little player up here so people who have been asking to see what music is what, I'm just putting it at the top. So,
Cool.
anyway, let's see. Let's find another one from our nice list. What subject matters, cultures, ideas, or places would you like to see gaming explore more or better? I'd say the rest of them.
Yeah.
Like
I
I'm
mean,
always...
there's a lot out there that we haven't touched yet.
Cat, go away. Oh, sorry.
That was awesome.
They jump on my lap constantly while I'm trying to work on this thing. So, yeah, like I'm always really excited whenever I see a game that's telling a story or exploring a culture or a part of the world or something that I've not seen before, because that always excites me. Like, or maybe the main character's a kind of character I haven't seen before. Like, and I love the chance to get to like step into a different pair of shoes, because I mean, you're always stepping into different shoes with games, but we've been stepping into the same style, make, and model of shoes an awful lot. So, like, I'd love seeing more variety. But, yeah. Let's see. First page.
So there was a question, sort of generic, but any really good design advice? If I have to in one sentence, the best design advice I can give to any aspiring designer is remember that you aren't designing for what's on the screen, right? A lot of starting designers start thinking only about the game they're creating. But the game is not what matters. What matters is the experience of the human being sitting on the other side of that screen. That's what you're designing. That's what you're really creating. And if you can really keep that front and center, if you can really concentrate on that, that will be a step up, a new plateau in your design thinking.
Nice. Let's see. Do you ever expect to see a good video game production out of like a smaller, not as well-known city, or will the industry stay kind of central to a few major cities across the globe? I feel like their game studios a little more spread out than like films like Hollywood or anything, like more so than film at least.
Well, we're getting, I mean, more so than film, definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're principally West Coast, a little bit in Austin. I mean, Canada now with a lot of the incentive systems got some good ones. God, where is it? South Carolina, Georgia, one of those states is starting to pull in.
Yeah, Carolina's got a bunch. Yeah, I can't remember which one, north or south, but yeah.
And then of course, I mean, in the rest of the world, right? Like we're seeing some great productions out of Eastern Europe, some out of Russia. I think that you're going to see South America, India, all these groups produce in both small and large cities some great games.
James, sorry.
Go for it.
Continue. Oh, this is a new question entirely. But
shoot, I was done anyway.
All right, cool. All right. In the publishing video, you mentioned a technique called modular design, and they'd love for you to flesh that out just a little bit more, like what that is.
Sure. So I can talk about it more in depth, but the biggest killer in design, the number one reason why companies go bankrupt, in my opinion, why games don't get released, is because they're over scope. In a lot of cases, designers, producers, everyone in the game loves the game so much that they just want to fit everything in it, right? And they don't think about realistically the resources they're going to have. And they don't think realistically about all the problems that are going to come up and all the ways they're going to want to revise as they go across. For me, whenever we budget a game or anything like that, I literally add 50%, right? I make sure there's a 50% buffer there to overspend, because otherwise you're gonna hit that tragic thing where you don't ship anything. So modular design is this question of what is the minimum shippable product, right? That's where you start. You try and figure out what are the essential pieces that if you ship this, no one would say, hey, wait a minute, that's missing. And then you look at all the other ancillary things that you can add, right? And you sort of rank those according to how much bang for your buck they're going to give you. But you understand that they're pieces that you don't have to build, you don't have to take into consideration when you're building your core engine, right? You don't have to, these are features that aren't going to use major engine revision that you didn't do, that you would have to do earlier in the planning stages. So it's stuff that we can add on at the end of the project if we happen to have more time or resources available then. So that's really modular design, and I encourage most of you starting designers to think in that fashion, because it's going to help a great deal when planning out, especially your first couple of projects where you really don't know the cost on a lot of your design decisions. So yeah, that's modular design.
There's a question I kind of liked. What do you think about the idea of making an E-rated first-person shooter? That's thinking if Mega Man and Shadow the Hedgehog can be E-rated, so can first-person shooters. Like who's the demographic? How would you make a good E-rated first-person shooter without feeling like it was watered down? Like, I thought my idea, like if I were told to like you have to come up with an E-rated shooter idea, I would think like massive snowball fight game where you like can build your own forts up. You can get like multiplayer with other people. You can build, I don't know. It's like you can get fanciful and build like snow launching devices, just siege weapons. I don't know. Like that's what I would do. But yeah, I think
that actually is kind of awesome. I'm going to go on a totally different tangent and just say I've always wanted to build a non-violent FPS, which is not even necessarily outside of war, right? But you're just playing the medic in a single-player campaign.
Ooh, nice.
And I always thought that would be interesting, right? Because TF2, playing the medic is actually pretty fun. And there's no reason we can't translate that. So I think there are other interesting experiments you can do in the FPS field that don't involve turning people into giblets.
Yeah. Oh, someone pointed out Pokemon.
Not that I'm totally opposed to that, right? There are plenty of good reasons to turn people into giblets.
Someone's pointed out that Pokemon Snap's technically a first-person shooter.
So I tell my students that Pokemon Snap is the best first-person rail shooter ever made, and I stand by that, right? I mean, it's pretty high up there on my list.
I put a lot of hours into that game, way more than I should admit. Let's see. Where do you see the first-person shooter genre going from here while we're on the subject?
Space.
Next.
So, where do I see the first-person shooter genre going? I really hate to say it, but until the current formula isn't successful, or until someone else comes out with a wild success, I think you're going to see the majors stick to sort of your modern era, modern combat style shooter with a focus on multiplayer and level. And I mean, I think that's okay. I think there's definitely a place for that. It'll be interesting to see what happens on the fringes, right? We haven't seen many other groups pick up the first-person shooter puzzler, right? We haven't seen Portal get that many other attempts. But yeah, I mean, I actually don't see a lot of evolution in that genre in the center of the, AAA world right now, which I hate to say. I think there's a lot of places it could go. I think that there are some good experiments being done, but right now, it's like when people were fighting over being WoW, right? You saw a big fight for who's going to be Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, Homefront was an attempt to enter that fight by THQ, right? So you're actually seeing more people throw down on that one with as ridiculous entries as you get in some of the attempted WoW killers if you look back 4 or 5 years.
Someone actually asked if we were going to savage Homefront the way we did Call of Juarez at some point.
So Homefront is bad, but I have a hard time, like, in some ways even taking Homefront seriously. Right? North Korea, honestly, North Korea has a population of, 3 million people. So if you brought every man, woman, and child across from North Korea to the United States, you would have 10% of the U.S. population, less than. It was just one of those things that was kind of ludicrous to me, right? Like, maybe it's worse than I thought, but I sort of cracked up from the beginning, and I might have to take another look at that one. but it was a little hard for me to see that. Like, how do 3 million people occupy the entire United States? Like, do you know how many North Koreans per square mile that is? Anyway,
I managed to get into it, but only by like internally, mentally, like replacing like North Korea
so
with.
Out, by the way, I said 10%. I meant 1%.
Oh, 1%. Okay, I mentally replaced like North Korea with like Combine or something, just some other like alien force or whatever else. Then it was a little easier to like. It was still a little kind of but it's like at least a little easier to take sort of seriously and not laugh at the entire time. What's your take on the Mega Man Legends 3 cancellation?
Sad face. I would love to. I mean, I would love to play that game, right? But yeah. I don't really have any particular insights on that one. I haven't heard too much about what major corporate rethinking they're doing. So,
are you That's a good one. Are you going to PAX East? And do you have any panels planned? Because a bunch of us from the forums are going to meet up there.
So,
you're going,
it is
right?
Almost certain that we're going to PAX East. Yes, both of us, right? Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll have to ask off work.
No, I'm certainly going to PAX East. I've been trying to cajole this man for some time, but he has work, right? And they're doing some. I mean, they'll probably be crunching right around then, so I think it's unsure, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm crunching already, so.
I'll certainly be on some panels. I haven't. They haven't told me exactly what yet, but I will be there. I'll be on some panels, and I would love to see you guys there.
Oh yeah. I've seen this one a few times. How powerful do you think music... Whoop, there it went. Hang on. How powerful do you think music is when it comes to developing a game? And from that, what are your favorite soundtracks from a game? I could not begin to narrow down my favorite soundtrack for a game. Not even close. Like, I have... Like, game music is like a big... You're listening to OC remixes, like, endlessly while we talk right now. Like, I am a huge video game music nut. So, like, I have dozens upon dozens of favorite game soundtracks. I don't think I could ever narrow it down.
That's really tough for me too. Like, I have a special place for anything that Nobuo did. Like,
sure.
And just because of my particular entrance into really the video game world, right? But it's really hard. There's so much great music, right? Yeah, I definitely couldn't pick.
But yeah, no, it's definitely can have a very powerful effect, just the same way it can in film. It can complete an experience. It can be. I mean, we still remember all these, all these tunes. It's like, so yeah, like music is important. So, if you weren't busy with extra credits, how would you two be spending your time?
Finding some other crusade.
I was about to say you would. It's like you wouldn't rest. You'd find something else. I don't think I'd rest either.
I don't think you would either.
No, I think I'd. If it hadn't become extra credits, if we were just like still hobbyists doing it, I still probably would be like squeezing in time to try to do it on the side, and we just keep coming out with episodes once every 3 to 6 months like we used to. But I don't know, I'd probably devote more time and attention to my real job at animating than probably be marginally better at it. But this is or spending time with my wife as I'm getting signals.
So, in case people aren't reading this is great. I was totally wrong on the amount of North Koreans. I was closer with my 10% number, but there are apparently 24 million North Koreans. And what's fantastic is that you would then have 6.45 North Koreans per square mile of the U.S. All right, so moving on.
You guys actually did the math. Well done. I'm proud of you guys. I don't say that enough. What do you think the game industry will be like in 5 to 10 years? Considering exponential growth and change, it's hard to predict anything, but curious to know what you guys think.
Dan?
I don't know.
I mean, I think that we're going to be much more digital at that point, but it's wacky, right? Like 5 years difference right now is so much. Like 5 years ago, if you had, I mean, it's like before motion controls. Like nobody would have guessed that, and our the emergence of a really, I mean, viable and vibrant mobile market and iPads and the future. I mean, all I can say 5-10 years from now is we are certainly going to be much more digitally distributed. I think that you are going to see some major right turns in the AAA publishers. I think that you will see, the one thing I'm pretty sure about is you will see them either broaden or die. Some of the major publishers are going to be purchased or collapse within the next 5 years, and the rest of them are going to explore other revenue possibilities, maybe continue to make AAA games, but certainly not selling in the model that we do right now.
Okay. How would you even start to write a story for a game? It's so inherently different from, like, writing for books or for screenwriting that I don't even know how to begin. Like, I have a basic version for it, but it's kind of hard to flesh out. That's a good question.
So there's a lot of there are a lot of different people who approach it a lot of different ways, but more importantly, there are a lot of different games, right? And if you're making a very linear game, if you're making like Final Fantasy 13 or whatever, you're writing a script essentially. I mean, basically like a movie script, and then you're adding in some of the non-essential dialogue, like the any particular person you can click on and say hello to, and who has a random one line of non-spoken text they give you. If you're looking for something more like Mass Effect with dialogue options, then there's a lot of programs out there that are great tools for working on dialogue trees. But to me, where you really start is you start with mechanics. You ask, what do these mechanics say? What is the inherent meaning in the action that the player is taking? And what can we convey with that? Right? And from there, you'll build your game and the narrative that your game delivers.
Right on. Someone asks, will this stream be saved for later? Yes, it will. It's actually being saved right now. I think people who are not being able to see it live should be able to watch it on Twitch TV or Justin TV or whatever after it's over.
Can we throw it up on the Blip as well?
Yes, that's my plan. I'm hopefully recording it right now, and we'll put it up in pieces up on our new Blip channel and our YouTube channel and things like that, so people can watch it there. And I plan to do that for all these as well. So I'm hoping that we will keep doing these and kind of releasing them as sort of a small sideshow kind of thing. And hopefully they'll eventually look more professional too. But yeah. I actually want to say thanks to, cause if he's still in our chat now, J-Rod, the guy who's one of the web administrators we have for our new, nice, very pretty website, is actually worked with me a lot trying to set this up. And he had rigged up a really nice, super professional looking, hey J-Rod, a really nice professional looking like stream sort of thing with like multiple camera layouts, and you could like see the question typed out on screen at the same time. Lots of really cool stuff. But I decided kind of last minute that it'd be better if I ran it myself, just so I could kind of handle all this moderating and stuff just live easier, and so I could just have the recording on my own. That's on my own hard drive at the end. So. But he has set a bar. Like, what he showed me is something that I want this to eventually look like. So I am going to be seeking to improve this over time. So just a big thank you to him for that. So I've seen someone ask this in chat, and I actually had it written down from when you asked it in the forum as well. So this is good. What are your thoughts on like kind of the visually engaging, over-the-top directors and like their design choices? Like, I guess kind of the flashier ones. I'm guessing you're thinking kind of like a Zack Snyder or the guys who make the like Crank and things like that. Like, are there pros and cons for that choice? Like for Dan, I'm talking about people like Monty Ohm, the guy behind Dead Fantasy and Haloid and the animator for Red vs. Blue. For James, I'm talking about groups like Platinum Games, maybe, like guys behind Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising, that kind of thing. It's kind of an interesting question. basically it comes to like style versus substance, and I like and whenever you put it in that context, it's always like as like substance good, style not as good. Style's good too, but it's not a replacement for substance. So I really enjoy stylish. I really like Platinum Games stylish stuff. I'm looking forward to Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, whatever it is, just because it's like they've got style down pretty well. So, but yeah, like we've all seen movies that are like literally all style and there's not an ounce of substance to it, and it's just kind of it's not quite as exciting or engaging when there's nothing to get you invested in it. So.
It's a good question. I mean, I do think that there is something on all fronts to experimenting with and seeing what we can do with the medium, including in these places where we may call it more stylistic, right? There's a lot that films like The Matrix learn from largely style movies, right? And the same is true in games. That said, I do feel like there's an overemphasis sometimes, and I mean, it costs a lot of money to do. There might be better ways to spend those resources.
What are your views on 2D hand-drawn art styles like Rayman or A Boy and His Blob? Do you like them, hate them? Do you think it's a good choice? I like them. I really like 2D animation stuff. I like well-done 2D animation stuff, and Rayman Origins was quite well done, like really entertaining to watch as you played. Like, I'm an animator, so like that sort of thing just is an easy way to win my affection, but I enjoy it a lot.
I mean, I actually want to see more of it, right? Because
yeah,
you can get really high quality 2D animation for very little money, which means that it would be much easier to compete on modern consoles pushing just really high-res 2D animation than it would be to build out the type of 3D engines and put together the type of 3D resources we do today. So I would love to see people start thinking of that as more viable. Because, I mean, hey, some of the best games that I played during my youth, the games which I feel like still stand up today, were 2D.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I'd like to know your opinion about games that seem to try to emulate movies, like including the hours and hours of cutscenes.
So I have a feeling we're talking about
we're talking about Metal Gear,
Quantic
right?
Dream.
Oh no, you mean the other one? Okay. Oh yes, either Metal Gear or yes, the those guys, the guys behind Heavy Rain and
Azure. Indigo Prophecy.
And, yep. And I guess we could like put in Uncharted in there as well. And I guess that's not hours and hours of cutscenes. That's just very much trying to emulate a movie, real time.
To me, I like things that utilize the medium a little bit more. I wouldn't say there's anything necessarily wrong with those type of games. Like everything, there's a place for them. I think that the AAA industry has been too concerned with the word cinematic for too long, and it's cost us quite a great deal. That said, I understand that's also a personal bias that I like. I like games with more game to them, right? Like, even if they're largely narrative games, I want that narrative to be conveyed through the game itself, because those are the games I've found have the most impactful and meaningful narrative to me, because often if I'm going to watch a movie, I feel like filmmakers have a better opportunity to deliver narrative in that medium.
Sure.
Than games.
Yeah. Again, I've said it in answer to this question before a couple times too. I think there's room for a kind of a game-movie hybrid thing, which is basically what I think Metal Gear Solid series already kind of is. So, because there's clearly a market for that kind of game, and I think a good number of them aren't going because they're dying for stealth gameplay. So, like, I think there's a market for it and like a potential for it's kind of its own spin-off kind of hybrid medium sort of thing. But yeah, but on the whole, though, I agree. Like, a lot of times there are just cutscenes put in because cutscenes, and there's not really nothing it could have been done in a different way that's more to a game's strengths. I'm curious about what you guys think about the new game coming up, I Am Alive. I just recently heard about it, but I think the little AI mechanic of threatening people with a gun instead of just shooting down everyone you see is fantastic and probably a positive step towards more intuitive gaming. I thought that exact same thing when I saw that trailer. I don't. Have you seen any more of the stuff?
So I haven't seen any more than that. For a long time, people I knew were saying that I Am Alive was actually vaporware, and that it wasn't going to come out. But so I know no more than you guys about I Am Alive.
I saw a recent trailer in which it seems like you can navigate around the world, like drawing your gun seems to have like a pretty serious like actual impact, like just
Which is awesome.
Yeah, like, and it just occurred to me watching that trailer. Can't remember when I saw if I've seen that before, like as an actual like AI thing. Usually, like draw your gun mean like the enemy is like aggro charge and attacks you instantly. But like actually seeing people going like, whoa, okay, easy, that's all right, leave me alone. I'm not gonna cause any problem for you. It's like very humanizing. I actually like that. And it like makes it all the more fun, I think, if I'm assuming the game's going to be pretty like sparse with the ammo they give you, so like trying to bluff people and trying to like force people back without firing anything seems like it's going to be something you're going to try to do a lot. So like, I don't know. I was excited seeing it. I hope the rest of the game is nearly as cool as that one concept.
So I'm getting a question from one Miss Scott of Seattle, Washington, asking why we have serif and sans serif font on our extra credit site. I apologize. I am so sorry. My students have been texting me throughout this with various thoughts, but it's just funny because I chide them for that a lot, especially on resumes. But all right, let's look at some real questions.
Let's see here. Pick one out. I've been picking out all these.
What should a music composer display for a game developer? If you're looking to get into musical composition for games, it's really tough. I wish I had a better answer, but I mean, we usually hire our musical composers from outside or raise up the ranks. You start as a sound designer, right? If you like sound design and are passionate about sound design, it's an excellent place to start. And then as far as a sound design resume goes, sound design wheel is, I mean, just look on the internet, you'll find plenty about how to put together a sound design wheel. But there just aren't entry-level positions composing soundtracks for games unless you're working with an indie team, right? Yeah. If you want to find somebody who's willing to let you work for free and yet get your name in the credits, great. That's an excellent way to start as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you're wanting to break in indie games, good place to do it. I've a lot of buddies I have in the Overclocked Remix community have gotten started professionally, just like they've gotten into a few, like guys like Danny B and Zircon and a bunch of other guys have gotten into this basically just by starting with indie games and things like that. Now some of them are like working on things like Mass Effect 2 and God of Wars and Soul Calibur and a bunch of other stuff now. So it's a way. It's not necessarily the only way, but it is a way. Why do so many games have escort missions if everyone hates them?
Because they're easy, right? Because it's lazy design. Escort missions are incredibly easy go-to, and you can't have only bring me 40 rat butts as every single quest. I think that RPG mission design, which is turning into mission design in general, has a long way to go, and we've seen spectacular examples, but there are easy fallbacks, right? We're starting to learn that they aren't adequate anymore.
Sorry about that. Okay. Cat's insistent. I'd be interested to hear some of the strengths that video games have over pen and paper gaming and what video games can still learn from their tabletop counterparts. I like that one.
I do too. Do you want to jump in, or should I grab this one?
I'll just jump in to say that, like, tabletop gaming is something that I've got only a little experience with, other than just like the standard like Monopoly and just standard typical board game type things. But I was recently first introduced to Arkham Horror, not to within the last year, and very much enjoyed it. So it's something I'd be interested in having more experience with if I had the time.
So as far as tabletop gaming goes, right? You see tabletop gaming emerge throughout video games. I mean, obviously D&D. We still import D&D rule systems into video games all the time, even when it makes no sense. But I mean, there's a lot to learn there, especially if you're a game designer and want to start learning how to turn rules into experience, how a set of logical, strict rules become this whole different crafted experience that the player actually engages with. Tabletop games are great because all the rules are right there on the surface. But the advantage that video games have is in real time, right? We can do things in video games that are almost impossible to emulate in a tabletop environment, and even in a LARP environment are remarkably difficult, right? So that's allowed us to explore a lot more avenues what's available in terms of game. So I hope that answers the question.
I think so. I've seen a question come up several times, and I don't know entirely what it means. Maybe you do. Do you guys often get tribute media?
So we sometimes do. We sometimes get fan pictures or...
oh, is that what he means? Yeah. Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think we've had some guy who did like a metalworking thing of us, and like... one guy came up at MagFest and handed us, maybe it was a girl, I don't know, but handed us those little pins that are like made out of the colored beads and stuff of each of our characters. I have it at work. I don't have it here.
And don't forget the guy who brewed us.
Yes.
Handed us a bunch of homebrew. Yeah. But no, we love it, right? Like it's great. And I mean, I know Allison loves seeing fan art of the characters. And we got the fella who built us in Minecraft.
The lady who built us in Minecraft. Thank you, by the way. That was pretty awesome. Yes, that was good. What part of the weekly extra credits work do you personally enjoy most? Do we have any funny stories to tell about the behind-the-scenes process?
For me, it's just this opportunity to think through design even more thoroughly, right? Like, to force me to sit down for 2 to 3 hours at a time and really just grind away at clarifying my thoughts so they're no longer just gut feeling internally, but really something that I can cognize and express to other human beings, which is a fantastic experience for me.
Nice. I'm not sure what part I enjoy most. Like, recording is fun, but then going in and like cleaning it up afterwards is not fun. I discovered like after the first few months of doing the show that it sounded, because I pitched vented everything up, like hearing like breaths and small little like vocal thing like stuff like that between sentences when pitched up sounded kind of weird, and sounded pitched up and sounded like it's kind of crummy. So I now go in and like hand delete or hand silence all sections between like little all pauses, which takes
I didn't even know you did that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, but it takes a couple of hours, so that's probably my least favorite part of doing it. Doing that every week, and especially my least favorite. That's what made re-recording the SOPA episode 3 times so annoying, because I had to do that every single time.
I think the other funny thing is every once in a while my students call out. We'll end a class and some students will come up to me and be like, "It's going to be an episode, isn't it?" Whenever they see me like realize something in the middle of like talking to them, because it's a new medium, right? They have as much to teach me as I have to teach them. And so you guys have gotten several things that have also been Digibin classes.
Yeah, I think my favorite part is probably getting, like, whenever you send me a new script, I'm like, ooh, awesome. And I'm just ready to read it and excited about, like, all right, what are we doing next?
And I mean, I actually love getting it back in your voice. Like, and I mean, I honestly probably at this point rely on you a little bit too much, because I'm like, yeah, I'll just send you my, like, raw thoughts and it'll come back awesome.
I have another one to send you, by the way. I'll do that after this.
Cool. Oh, wait. Super Stingray. If you're hanging out at DigiPen, if you're a student, come to GAT 250 or 251 or anytime. Come to the Masters Lab for game 550, 551 this semester or 541. And come hang out in the Masters Lab and just say hi.
Nice. Let's see. This one asks, I remember Total Biscuit quoting Gabe Newell saying that piracy is a service problem and that better service would reduce piracy. What kind of services should digital distribution sites offer?
Gabe's right. So I was there for that DICE speech. So physical product, right? It has all these competitive disadvantages at the same price, and piracy is also free, right? So I want a game at 3 a.m. I can't go to GameStop, but boy, can I pirate it. I want a game that, if scratched, will be freely replaced by the people who sent it to me. Pirates will do that. I want a game without DRM. Pirates will do that. And so, I mean, you've got all these other advantages that piracy has, and honestly, Gabe's observation through Steam and through especially their Steam sales was that they could be competitive with the pirates. They could sell games that at a much higher rate than GameStop's or whatever by answering all these other questions, because for some people it's a matter of money. And I mean, I think that's going to be true for a fair number of people, a fair amount of the time. But for a very large number of people, it's a matter of convenience, right? It's just so much easier to hop on your torrent and grab your favorite song or movie or the game you want to play than it is to bother to like get your shoes on and get up out of the house and find a place that's open and has it in stock. And so when we answer that question, right, I think you'll have addressed a lot of the piracy issues.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Good answer. James, in your thoughts, do you agree or disagree with the statement that video games have become easier or dumbed down over the years? And whichever way you feel about it, why?
So, dumbed down, I wouldn't necessarily say is the correct answer. Easier, yes. For the most part, right, we found that sales went up when you broadened the audience that could interact with it, right? And you go back and play the first Ninja Gaiden, right? Or the first Castlevania. And God, the first Castlevania is like 4 hours long, and I think when I was little, I played it for like 80 hours and got to maybe like I don't even think I got Dracula, right? Today, I mean, what we learned over time is that by giving people an easier ramp, you were able to sell the game to more people. I mean, the genius of World of Warcraft was that everybody wins, right? They had this really smooth learning curve where that introduction, compare that to UO or EQ or whatever. I mean, so beautiful. Anybody can approach it. People who've never played games can start playing World of Warcraft, and there's no point at which the game boots them out for not being good enough. And so, have games gotten easier? Yes. Have they gotten dumbed down? Depends what the perspective is, right? If you're asking, do games require the level of reflexes, manipulation skills, or even do they require the level of mental and calculation skills? A lot of games don't. But on the other hand, you're seeing a lot of that come back because we're broad enough that even that niche can support a lot of these games. Everything from Super Meat Boy to Dark Souls, right? Everything from I was actually just playing Total War. I was just playing Shogun on like the hardest difficulty, and
of course you were.
It to me was a challenging mental exercise, right? So there are those options there, and I think that there are ways that we can incorporate that even into games that we also allow everyone in.
Right on. Did we ever get a response from the ESA, like officially?
Did we?
Yeah, like for the movement thing.
I don't know. We'd have to ask Craig on that one.
Yeah, they probably would have contacted him.
I'm not sure. I've been out of it all. I mean, the last 2 days have been a plain blank for me.
When people talk about gaming, they usually refer to digital games, but I'd like to, we actually already answered one that's just like that. What's the next step in animation? Like, could you, for example, make some kind of more advanced procedural animation that, like, writes themselves to fit the action the object's performing? Like say, a giant monster larva that moves ever so slightly differently, just like real beings do? That one's in my wheelhouse. For the procedural animation thing you're talking about, I'm sure there are advances that could be made in that, and some pretty good, interesting ones. And certain games like Spore are only possible because of that sort of procedural thing. That Spore is only possible because of procedural everything. And it could be that there is some room for like procedural generation to like modify some animation, like some already hand-created animations, perhaps like slightly adjusting people's walks, maybe, or it's like if you have just a whole big crowds or something like that. I'm not sure, but I don't know. The thing I want to see in animation, games-wise, is I'd like to see a lot more individual character in just on individual characters. James and I were kind of talking about this on the flight down to MagFest, but like if you watch Tangled, maybe like there's something that the Rapunzel character does a lot. She does like kind of a lot of shoulder kind of shruggy stuff. Just it makes kind of it's just a big character sort of thing for her. It's a unique way that she moves, and it's just instantly identifiable, just part of her personality, and it's really nice. I'd like to see that happen a lot more in games. Like I would love it if in Mass Effect, say, each of your crew members had their own kind of movement, sort of way that just the way that they moved, their own stance, the way they kind of carried themselves, because they're all actually pulling from kind of the same animation library, and it works, and it's tons of animation, so I understand why they do that. But that's kind of the leaps forward that I'd like to start seeing. James and you were actually talking about like wondering why, and we need to ask people about this. Because at this point, like, BioWare has done so many games where they needed tons and tons of stock animations for, like, dialogue and just characters talking. Why haven't they basically just built up this enormous library that they just pull from over and over for that, and then spend their animation budget creating custom stuff for individual characters? It makes sense to me, but I am not a game animator, and so I'm sure there's probably good explanations. I need to ask some people about that, but I don't know. Do you have anything you're wanting out of game animation?
Mostly the backlighting, the stuff that you're talking about having that library available. But I want to jump in because J-Rod had asked about Machinima, and I feel like the least we can do is actually grab one of his.
Yes, we should.
So the question was, how do you guys feel like Machinima has affected game culture?
Before we start on this one, sorry, your quality's gone down a little bit again. Do you want to try redoing the call just for...
All right, I'll call you right back.
Yes. All right. Enjoy the desktop, people. All right. We'll see if we can get that figured out. Oh, he's calling me back already. And pow. Let's see. Video.
All right. It looks like it might be better.
Let's see what happens.
And
Fingers crossed.
go. Better? Worse?
Don't see you yet, but maybe it's still loading up.
Oh, now it's gone back to red.
You're back, but
It's giving me the... Oh, wait, just went back to yellow.
Oh, better. It's improving.
There we go. All right.
Close enough. Let's go.
So, Machinima, that's right. And how it's affected game culture. Well, really, I want to right turn this question, and I won't, but there is a big question about what we mean by game culture, right? Which is, it's interesting. There is something there, right? There is a whole subculture we have developed in a way that's unique to games that's not true of TV as a medium or film as a medium. But as far as how Machinima affects things, I think it's very positive, right? Like, it gives people more ways to engage with the medium. And one of the things I've always been most impressed with about Machinima, like with video game music, is that I see people who have no idea what Halo is watching Red versus Blue, right? I see people who don't necessarily understand the value of games in Medium until they're introduced to it through Medium they do understand. And Machine is very powerful for that.
I hope you guys heard that. Okay, it was a little. The audio is kind of a little in and out with the lagginess, but technology. Let's see. Actually, had one that was more to me up here. I think. Is it worth the long, grueling hours working in animation at Pixar? Actually, they're very good at making it not long, grueling hours. They're very good at They're very good. There's a really awesome production team in Pixar Canada, and I assume in Emeryville as well, because they basically make it to where everything runs smoothly and overtime is pretty minimal. So it's a really good studio to work with. They take care of their people. So it is. But even if it was long, grueling hours, yeah, it's still worth it. It's like an awesome work environment. You get to know everybody. It's like a family. So it's a great place to work. I recommend it to anybody. You're looking a little better. I'm hoping the sound is improved.
I hope so. Can you tell?
Much better. Significantly better. All right. We have James back. Let's get a question. Would it ever be possible at all for James to give some design consultation? I remember this being mentioned before, but I can't remember what the response was.
So my response is yes, but my company's already overloaded with work, and so, I mean, I do charge for it, right? Like, that's my actual job. And so, yeah, my email's out there. You can email us at EC and get in touch with me. It is something that I can't give away for free, because I already have to turn people down.
Mm-hmm. So Nintendo is preparing for Shigeru Miyamoto's retirement. Like, what exactly do you think this will mean for future games with respect to like studios and companies who've lost some of their best talent over the years?
Well, the real question is how we replace them, right? Like, while there are always going to be visionary people, right? Mm-hmm. There shouldn't be. Miyamoto shouldn't be irreplaceable, right? People shouldn't be worried about the future of Nintendo because one guy is going to leave. Like, I mean, as much as I would like to think a group of visionary artists doing great things, we have this problem of both. It was really a problem based in not taking the medium seriously. We don't have a lot of people who have really devoted their life in the way that people like Miyamoto have to becoming a master craftsman. I mean, there are many sectors of the industry, but design especially, you get this big separation. You get a lot of people who have this amazing job, who get to design experiences, who get to design games, and see it as a day job, right? Or think that because it's designing games, they don't have to take it seriously because they got in because they knew somebody 10 years ago. And so I think the question is, why shouldn't... The big question is, why doesn't Nintendo have someone there who we all know and love, who's clearly going to step in and take Miyamoto's place, right? Who's going to lead the future of Nintendo?
I hadn't thought of that. There's a few other big sort of Nintendo names, like nowhere near as big as Miyamoto, but like some of the guys like behind like the Kirby franchise, and like, I guess it's telling that I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
I mean, and there are a couple of them, right? There are no doubt, right? And in Nintendo certainly has a number of people who really do take this craft as a DAO, as a way of being. But it's a larger overarching industry problem.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's see. Why is it that some styles of games still struggle with the third dimension, even though it's been well over a decade by now? Primarily games such as like turn-based strategies and platformers.
platformers, it's this long-standing issue of camera controls, right? We're still bad with camera controls. Platformers require incredibly tight camera controls. Therefore, it becomes tough to produce a good third-person platform. As far as strategy games, right, it's this problem of what's strategy about? Well, strategy is mostly about your mental engagement, right? This interesting process of trying to think around a problem. And in a lot of cases, that doesn't need big 3D graphics. They don't add a great deal to that environment. In fact, Valkyria Chronicles, one of the to me most innovative recent strategy games,
I love that game.
Did everything it could to look 2D. And so we return to this problem of, as soon as you say that 2D is verboten on the current consoles, you're going to price prohibit that genre, right? It's very hard to deliver on that genre when you're asking it to spend a lot of the money that needs to be spent elsewhere on graphics which don't necessarily add a great deal to the play.
So here's a good one. Why do certain publishers object to their stuff appearing on abandonware sites but refuse to re-release them themselves?
I mean, it's a good question. A lot of cases it's legal issues. In a lot of cases, I mean, it's this question of, well, somewhere down the line they lost part of the rights to the series, so they can't re-release it, but at the same time they either hold out hopes for getting those rights back or whatever, and or consider those rights a company asset, the rights they do retain, and therefore want to keep stuff off abandonware sites. I think it's a mistake. I think that if you're going to revive a franchise, the best way to do it is, let people get excited about the old ones. But that's just me.
Completely agreed. Let's see. What kind of books or similar do you guys recommend to a game designer wannabe like me? I've been reading Jane McGonigal's Reality is Broken, Ralph Koster's A Theory of Fun for Game Design, and Jesse Schell's The Art of Game Design. So do you have any other recommendations?
The Art of Game Design is probably my highest recommendation for a book about game design. As a game designer, you've got to look past books on game design. One of the important Design of Everyday Things is a great book on just general design. You should just indubitably read that. If you haven't read Understanding Comics, you've absolutely got to, right? Anybody who's examining the medium, that's a fantastic delve into a medium in a sort of parallel situation to ours. And then beyond that, right, there are lots of things. I actually think Aristotle's Poetics is something that every game designer should touch on, as do I Descartes' Discourse on Method, right? Because Discourse on Method is where we establish the scientific method, which is a lot of what we do as game designers. So there's great field, right? And that's not even touching on literature. But I hope that gave you a starting point.
That was good. That's much older books than I'm sure people were expecting for the nice. Well done. What's your take on the PC platform being largely ignored by a lot of developers, releasing games on PC months after the console release, and even then those often being cheap console ports, while blaming it on piracy and other type things? State of the PC platform in general, I guess.
I don't know. I've been getting a kick out of playing PC games recently.
Having just got a Windows partition, so have I.
Nice. And I mean, to me, especially once I bit the bullet and just plugged a controller into my PC, I've been able to enjoy a wide range of experiences. It is unfortunately not as accessible. The advantage that consoles had was that you bought a thing from the store and it just worked, right? Which it may not seem like that much to you guys, but for moms and dads out there, especially who knew nothing about it and just wanted to get their kid a present, it was a huge advantage, right? There's nothing like getting your kid a present that they can't figure out how to make run. And because they have the wrong video drivers, right?
Yep.
we're getting further and further from that. It's weird. I mean, my PlayStation 3, as much as I love it, most of the times it's been on in the last month, I am like, all right, I have 30 minutes to play a game. Turn it on, patching, go. By the time it's done, I gotta go do other things.
Yeah.
So I think that the reason that PC gaming is not as important to a lot of the publishers is because it's not where they make most of their money, because consoles are just so much more approachable for a wide audience. That may be changing, and unfortunately it may be changing not because PCs are getting easier, but because consoles are getting more and more difficult.
Yeah. Next question. Would you guys ever consider doing a TED Talk?
I think we should.
I would absolutely love for you to give a TED Talk.
I was gonna have you do it in chipmunk voice. It was gonna
Oh
be
yes,
awesome.
I would take my chipmunk act to the guys at TED.
I think that's what Ted needs.
I think
Ted needs more chipmunk voice.
No, I'm not doing a chipmunk voice. Like, if I'm going in front of TED, I have to act like a grown up. And so,
I don't know if I can act like a grown up. But I think that the answer is fundamentally that we'd love to, right? Like, neither of us really have much about the process, and haven't had any time to really submit one. But if one of you guys, and I know we got somebody mailing us in the inbox as well a few days back.
Yeah, somebody did.
But if any of you guys want to send us some information, if you guys do some research and figure out how we do this thing, over summer I will at least start putting together a pitch, and we can work on it and figure it out, because I think that there are some things that I think we'd probably like to say to a broader audience. So, sure, yeah.
They're pretty awesome, actually. But, could you talk about why price has such an impact on our view of quality of a game and how that might be possible to overcome?
Because we've been trained with every product ever in at least most Western capitalist societies that price equates to quality. As far as how that can be changed, that's a tough one. On the other hand, I actually think that the iPhone's doing a huge amount to do that, right? Because you pick up a $9, 99-cent iPhone game,
yep,
and it's comparable to $30 DS games. In some cases, when I was thinking $9, I was thinking about games that are exactly the same, and ported to the iPhone. So I think that you needed some radical break, right? You didn't need games that were $40 at launch instead of $60 at launch. You needed games that were 99 cents at launch instead of quality, and we're starting to see that. And so this may change.
It's funny that, like, when I hear that Final Fantasy Tactics on the iPhone is $16, I'm like, oh, come on. But, like, any other platform you told me that, I'd be like, okay, I'd buy it.
I bought Tactics for $30 for the PSP, and
so did I.
And yet I did. I balked at it being, I was like, $16, really?
Exactly.
And then I realized that I bought it for $30.
All right. With the trend, particularly in the West, toward a blank slate or custom-built protagonist, what do you think is the place of a role-playing a pre-constructed character, as is still common in a lot of JRPGs? Like, what's appealing about both models, and how do you maximize playing as a predefined character?
Can we dodge on this one? Because
sure.
I have been thinking a great deal about an episode on JRPG versus Western RPG.
The sooner we can get that done, by the way,
I'm starting to pen it. My problem is I came to the realization the other day that I think they're different genres.
Ooh,
I think that
nice.
It's loose terminology to call them both, to think of them both as the same RPG core. I mean, I actually think they're fundamentally different things. So that's what I'm going to say there, to give a teaser for an episode that will come up when I can finish scribing all my thoughts there.
Rad. I'm excited about that one. James, 2 years ago you wrote an article on Gamasutra about the game industry in Brazil, where I live. I want to know if you're still being updated about Brazil's situation and what you think about it now.
I go out there probably about once a year, maybe twice a year, on various business. And if you're in Brazil, there is a show called Ludobard. I I am going to, after this, take a moment to look up exactly the name and the link of the show, because there's a great show down there that covers a lot of the same topics that we do. But my understanding, and please correct us in chat if you're here, is that a lot of the tax law stuff hasn't changed, and until the tax laws change, it's going to be really hard to address any of the other underlying issues or really show off any of the major virtues of the Brazilian industry.
Someone's, Mark Kim something's been asking this for like an hour. Since you gave your thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog, we've gotten success out of the Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations games. Do you have any thoughts on Sonic now? Like good steps in the right direction? I was personally never a huge, I was a Nintendo kid, so like I didn't have a lot of Sonic exposure, but I'm still happy about like Sonic Generations just for the Sonic fans I know. I feel like happy for them. But I don't know. Like, have you played either one of them?
I mean, I have, and especially the most recent one, I mean, I think is good.
Yeah.
But I still think that in order to really kickstart that franchise, they need to give it a rest for a couple of years and then come out with something killer. I think that's the only way you're going to get really back as Sonic.
Here's a good one. Quick question. Have you played any games in the Bit Trip series, and if so, what'd you think of them? I've only played Bit Trip Runner, but I really liked it. I loved it, actually. I know there's more, though.
There are several more, but I mean, Bit Trip's great, and I think that this question of music and game interacting, right? It was something that we had always thought of as a passive, non-gameplay part of the medium. And this exploration of outside of what we traditionally think of as a music game, how can we use music as an integral mechanic, is fantastic. So that's my 2 cents.
Totally. I'm being told there's a I want to suggest a speaker thing on the TED site. How committed are you to the idea of talking at TED?
Done. If you guys throw us at that thing, we'll make it happen.
Awesome. Another one that's been asked a lot. What are your thoughts on games that have real-world currencies?
We're talking most free-to-play games, or are we talking Entropia?
I don't know. Hey, Zero Budge something. If you want to clarify that, I will. We'll finish that question in just a second. What do you think about motion controls and whether or not they have any significant place in gaming? If they don't, if not, how could they be improved?
Sorry, repeat that one. I was looking for this Brazilian site.
Oh, sure. What do you think about motion controls and whether or not they have any significant place in gaming? If not, how do you think they could be improved?
Well, every input device has value. It gives us new things that we can explore. I have experienced some disappointment because if you look at the homebrew community for the Kinect, I mean, they can do phenomenal things, like things that clearly have high value in terms of games. And if you look at the Kinect device itself, it's not a Wii, and yet everyone commercially is simply trying to emulate Wii games, with the exception of various dance games, on the Kinect, and that's not the machine. That's not the input device. We could get so much more out of there. So, I mean, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Kinect survives long enough to for more people to start really trying new things, because I don't know, I'm excited by the tech. I'd like it to. I'd like it to work, to catch on. Why is it that games that are tied in with movies always need to be rushed through development and released the same time as the movie theater launch? Couldn't they just give it more time and release it close to when the DVD comes out, perhaps? That's a point. Though I don't think a DVD release is nearly as big a fanfare as a theatrical one, so that might be part of the reason. They could, but it's probably not going to be quite as big in the public's mind as when something's released theatrically. Would be my guess.
it's usually contractual, right? Like usually there are huge penalties for missing that date, and the way that you get the license is by committing to deliver day and date with the film.
That makes sense. But we have
and it was Ludo Bardo, right? That is the. If you Google Ludo Bardo, you should be able to find this particular individual's like YouTube work and all that.
Okay.
In Brazil.
We have a clarification on the real-world currency, either Entropia or Diablo 3. Basically, do you see the system as being viable for gamers to make a minor living off gaming?
Good question.
Yes.
So, fundamentally, Diablo 3, absolutely, because you're not playing against the house in any way. Entropia is stacked against you because you are playing against the house. So it just depends on how the game is set up as far as making a living in it. If we don't get greedy, if we don't want $60 up front from you and a box product, and a subscription or something else, I think that this is one of the alternate methods of generating revenue that is viable, that some games will find some way to make very powerful and very positive for the player. But that's my thoughts. And for all those guys who don't know, Entropia has a currency which you buy from them, but can at any point exchange back to them for real-world dollars. And it's an MMO, so anytime you're grinding or kill something or sell something on the auction house, the only money in it has a direct real-world value. But of course, like WoW, except for at a much higher rate, all your equipment decays, or your guns run out of bullets or what have you.
So, what would you tell a recent game design or programming or art graduate who wanted to start their own indie studio?
Do it.
Done.
There isn't much more to it than that. Don't get held back. Don't get held back by this idea that it requires something special to launch a studio. If you've got the people, you should just go do it. But understand that as a recent graduate, you have to knock this one out of the park, because the further you get from your degree, the harder it will be to get a place in the industry, unless you have a product which shipped, right? If you put together your studio and you can get your product on Steam or on Amazon or whatever, then you're going to be miles ahead. But if you end up letting it unravel, if it falls apart halfway through, you are making things harder for yourself. So that would be the only thing that I would warn you. And as I said earlier, remember that to make a product really get out there, you need not only people doing the actual development work, you need people doing the business work too.
Okay. This one's, I think, a little more for me. Dan, I noticed that you have some music mixes from OC Remix. Yes, I do. Is music arrangement and production just a hobby for you? Also, I was wondering if you're going to delve into the topic of sounds and other audio in video games. I'd be cool doing a topic on that, though we probably want to bring in an expert to help us, like, with the writing of it, for, like, sound and audio stuff, I would guess. But, yeah, as for me and OC Remix, yes, I do have stuff on OC Remix. If you look up the remixer name Sapphire, that was me. I haven't done anything in a while because basically at a certain point I realized that if I was going to become good enough to become employable in animation, I was going to need to let a few of my side hobbies kind of fall back, and unfortunately doing music and remixing and stuff was one of them. So I did still actually do one recently. I barely managed to get it done for a Final Fantasy IX project that's coming out in the near-ish future. So that'll probably be the last one I do for a while. Maybe I'll do one again. It's fun to do. I wish I could do it more often, but I just don't have a lot of time anymore.
You have been linked in the chat. Nice.
Well, there I am. Thanks, Larry.
Somebody asked, by the way, will I ever be coming to Vancouver? The answer is yes. I believe the first week of next month.
I think it might be the end. Like, I think it might be. It's not next week, is it? Hold on.
No, it's the week after next, I think.
Let me bring up my browser right in the middle of the chat thing. It's next week. Yep.
Oh, good, awesome. So that's my schedule. um, so this is getting published again later, right?
Probably, yeah.
But so yes, I will be there. I'll be talking at the Vancouver Film School. I think actually on narrative and MMOs, because it was something that they let me choose any topic, so I chose one that I find fascinating.
Nice. And
Also,
that's where I live, so I'll just sit in on it for fun.
sit in. I'm pulling you up to the stage. Like, this is gonna be good.
Totally. Awesome. Let's do it.
So someone also asked if I was going to ever come to Europe. I do periodically. I was there. I did a whole university tour last year. I'm going to be at the University of Lisbon in the week before GDC. So if you happen to be in Portugal, come on down. It'd be awesome to see everybody. And if not, just talk to your university or a university near you and have them work out with me getting out there, because it's difficult. It takes me blocking out a big chunk of time, but I like to see the markets everywhere, so I'd be happy to come out if you have somebody who's willing to host me.
J-Rod asks, how did I come up with the names Sapphire and Kirithim anyway? Good question. Sapphire, I saw, it was like, I can't even remember what it was, but there was a random JPEG I saw at one point that I think was like combining, it's probably a Final Fantasy VII related one actually, combined, just like titled something, and I'd said, oh, that's kind of a cool word, and I just made it up for just used it for the remixer name. Kirithim is, at one point in like high school or college, I can't remember, I was working with some buddies on kind of like a game story or whatever else, and that was a villain name I came up with that I thought was cool, and so, and not knowing that I was eventually going to make a series that a series on that YouTube channel, I just used that name because Sapphire was taken, and here we are. So let's see, do you know about any scholarships for Digipin? I want to go, but the price seems daunting.
So it is tough, right? Especially because one of the problems with a game school is that as of right now, a lot of the federal funding isn't available for game schools. They're not one of the degrees that gets any of that underwriting. Amongst other things, Penny Arcade actually gives, I think, $10,000 a year in scholarship for people at game schools. There aren't any directly for DigiPen alone, but there are a lot of places out there that are starting to give these scholarships, and a lot of companies. So just look for them. I mean, unfortunately, my best advice is to Google and really dig down and see what you can find.
Cool. Would you be willing to go in depth on the topic of Chrono Trigger? Sure.
Right now?
I guess. Maybe in the future. I don't know. I don't have anything prepared.
Yes. I mean, Chrono Trigger, I could go in depth in the moment when you realize that the game knows that you like stole the whatever it was, the old man's sandwich, or what was it?
Yeah, stole the guy's lunch. Yeah,
lunch. There it was. I mean, that moment for me was probably the first time that had ever happened to me in a game, and their understanding of the sort of tradition in that particular genre and the medium was fantastic, and it just blew me away because the first time a game had made me feel guilty, right? And I had killed a lot of people in games, but so yeah, we could go into depth in that one. I think we should get to a bunch more other questions here.
Sure, but later we should do that. Chrono Trigger is actually the first JRPG I ever saw, and it was like way after it came out too. Like I remember, like I was out at a just like kind of on a summer vacation thing with some friends, and we'd been just playing tons and just hours and hours of GoldenEye multiplayer. But then like I went over and like one friend like popped in the SNES and put in Chrono Trigger, and I just never seen a JRPG before. It just like it blew my mind. Like, how long is this game? And like, this is how you fight. This music is awesome. Just all that stuff. So yeah, that's a great one to start with.
It's amazing, right? So for any of you guys who are into music, go listen to Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
And just hear how those themes have permeated games since then, right? Like, so many people clearly learn from the composition in that game, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's still one of the best game soundtracks ever made. So yeah, look that up. What are your thoughts on the new driver game? The one where you take control of other drivers on the road around you. I
guess I can throw in.
I only played the demo of it. I started like that mechanic part of it was kind of cool, but I think personally, like when I started it up and started seeing like the trailer and just sort of footage, I was immediately got this impression of like, oh, they're kind of doing this sort of slightly retro buddy cop kind of theme sort of thing. It's like, this seems kind of cool. And then it like immediately turned into this weird, like the guy's like projecting himself into other people's cars, and for a cop he's kind of a douche, and like I'm getting people in trouble and causing accidents and like then leaving them with their problems. I don't know, just something like I just had a really hard time getting into the headspace of the story. It just wasn't what I initially expected, so I started losing interest.
To me, it had a conflict between the mechanics and the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
If you separate the mechanics from the narrative, I thought it was a great way to do that sort of game, right? Because it allows you to cut out all the boring bits, right? Whenever you're about to have a moment where you're going to have to slow down, or where you've screwed up and now we're going to have to you can just jump to another car. Brilliant, right? That allows maximum mayhem, which is frankly fun. But the story they chose to go with it, I agree, didn't fit so well.
It's a police officer going and then hopping into other people's things and causing mayhem, and especially the initial one in the demo where it's like he's saying, "I was just in another guy's body in another car," and his buddy is like, "No, you weren't. Whatever." It's like, "No, I'll prove it." So he projects into another guy's just mind and starts speeding and breaking the law to prove his point, which seems very unpoliceman-like. So I don't know, just I felt kind of, so the divorced from the story that they were trying to establish, the mechanic was actually really cool. So I have a hard time, just the way I play games, I have a hard time with that. It's desync between the story presented and the mechanic. Here's what, have you ever considered or thought about putting extra credits on DVD? I hadn't until we moved to Penny Arcade and then had to kind of retroactively apply season and episode numbers just to fit their system. But ever since then, I've kind of thought about it.
Is that something that you guys want? Just in chat, is that something that if we were to print up DVDs, would that actually be of a service to you guys?
We could do it. So, yes. Chat says yes.
All right. Cool. Then I guess since we do have a store section of the extra credit site, we should put something.
Oh, you're right.
The store.
We should totally sell something in our store.
Yeah, I hear that's what those are for. KQBN hearts.
I still want plushes on my desk.
Now that I've spammed that hour.
Yeah, let's have a question.
State of gaming in Australia.
Good one.
It was looking good, and now it's not, right? And I'm sorry. That's all I can say. I mean, there have been a number of issues with the Australian industry, and they put some real money. The government put some real money behind trying to kickstart the industry down there, and I think it's going to be at least a couple of years before it recovers.
Let's see. I had one just a second ago. Is there any hopes of video games ever getting past the just disgusting fascination of catering only to straight white males?
I think we're seeing it, right? Depends on what you consider video games. But as soon as you say Farmville is a video game, then yeah, absolutely, we're already there.
Yeah.
Once you start thinking about things like Today I Die or Passage, once you start thinking things on the fringes, then yes, no question. If you're talking strictly AAA, that ship turns slowly, and it's going to take a while. So it's really in just your perspective.
Do you foresee any game genres that are currently marginal becoming big with like AAA titles and massive fan bases someday soon? So, let's see, what are some marginal ones? Like maybe the like kind of adventure games, maybe like the Monkey Island type format, or I'm trying to think of some marginal ones that could stand to become huge.
Ones that I want to become huge is a different question. I think we've seen the growing popularity of hidden object games, and you're actually going to. I mean, Big Fish is making all their money on hidden object games, right? But
Yeah.
I think you are going to see a breakout hidden object game that's maybe not huge in terms of does it get a lot of marketing, but is certainly it's making Bejeweled level money, which is a great deal. I would love to see a return to true survival horror. I would love to see that come back, but I'm not holding out high hopes given what I've seen on the horizon.
That reminds me, I need to play Amnesia. Let's see here. What are your impressions of Star Wars: The Old Republic? What do you think Bioware did right? What missteps did they make? And do you expect it'll go free to play anytime soon? Or do you think it'll have a big impact on the MMORPG space?
So, fundamentally, I think they did story wrong. We'll have to go into it to a much greater degree, because it's not like I mind the story, but I think that an MMO can't actually just be a port of the way we tell narrative in a single-player game. I think you have to be much more conscious of the fact that you have a massive community, right? And the story has to be driven by that community. That all said, I think one of the biggest missteps they did is, honestly, banning people for /get down, like that was the best error in a game that I have seen in years. That was hilarious. Like, that's one of those ones where you just like laugh it off. And yeah, some people get some loot. Like, some people get to advance a little bit quicker, but they're not hurting anybody, right? Like, it's nothing that gave them an advantage over anybody else in terms of competitive play. So I think that was a big misstep. And as far as free to play, I don't think so. It costs more than $500 million. That's an enormous amount of capital. I am not sure that they can admit that it needs to go free to play for at least its first year.
Are there any game companies you would suggest asking about internships?
Depends on what you're looking for. I would ask any company that you want to work for about an internship.
That's a good start.
In fact, if you want to work in this industry, I would ask every company that you are not morally opposed to working for an internship. As far as people in particular, if you need, like, I don't necessarily think they're the best learning environment, but Microsoft gives incredibly well-paying, incredibly nice internships. So if it's not a bad place to look, but most companies do give internships.
Nice. Someone had asked way back when, is it true that you worked with Insomniac at some point? That you can talk about?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I got turned down to work at Insomniac at one point.
Nice.
Yeah. And then got hired by Pixar. And I'm not the only Pixar animator who had that happen. Like, there are numerous guys working at Pixar now who got turned down by Insomniac first. So, like, they have really good animation in their games. I guess it's really an amazing team. Pixar picks up Insomniac scraps is what they do. Do you think that Nintendo is due for a new IP, or is nostalgia enough for them at this point?
I would like to see a new Nintendo IP. I mean, I would like to see them take that risk.
Yeah.
And
Aside
No.
from like the Wii titles, what was the last really big one? Like Pikmin, maybe?
Brain Age.
Yep. I'd like that. By the way, I'm just kind of continuing to read. If at a certain point you're tired or bored, like I have no plan to end stop time. For
I
this.
am not at all bored. I should probably wrap it up kind of soon because
Okay.
I've got a lot of other things I want to get to before the night's up, unfortunately.
Yes,
But
definitely. Then we will expedite this. But yeah, what time do you want to plan on sort of stopping?
say
And
9:45.
Cool. Yeah, and I can, if anyone really wants to stick around, I can stick around and answer for a little longer if you want to. Just I have nothing else to do, other than finish Zelda in 15 hours.
I have to field Symphonics gamers. Do you plan to attend Smithsonian's Art of Games exhibit? And I mean, actually, the answer is a resounding yes because it was a friend of mine who put that together, and I can't wait to see what comes out of that. He used to be the head of gaming for Sun Microsystems, and left being that in order to put this together to really try and show that this medium has artistic things to offer to a wide range of people. So there's no question that I will be there. I will probably be there for the launch ceremony if any of you guys are going.
Nice. Exciting.
I guess it's not a launch ceremony for an art exhibit, but you know.
It's a game art exhibit. You could call it that for fun. What do you think are going to be the long-term impacts of Minecraft on the world of gaming?
It's a good question because you don't need that many Minecrafts, right? Like, it's a game that, because of its very freedom, allows you to explore what you want out of it. I think, I wish I could say it was showing, really demonstrating to major companies the viability of these lower budget but highly designed productions. I haven't really seen it. It may start to convince people of the value of user-generated content, but we've done a pretty poor job in general of facilitating user-generated content in the AAA industry. So I actually don't know. I mean, it's clearly a historical monument, right? Like, it's clearly one of those points that we'll look back on and say, and maybe where we say, and here's where independent game development really became viable as a market force. But I really don't know what it'll have as far as an effect on the AAA world.
Oh, here's a good one. What platform do you think is the best for an independent developer to start on?
Flash.
Flash. Does that limit? This is just me not knowing anything. Does that limit like due to PC, or is that is that doable on any platform?
You can do Flash on anything, but it's really well, I mean, not anything. Clearly, handheld iDevices don't use Flash, but the reason I recommend it is A, as far as a scripting language, it's pretty easy to learn, and B, it's going to force you to stay to a relatively small scope, and C, distribution is simple, right? You're going to be able to get it out there in front of real people really easily, have them just destroy your game, and learn a ton from that experience. As far as programming languages, eventually you need to learn C++. I mean, that's if you're going to build the type of games that most of us think about, that's really what you're going to have to be doing. But I think that if you want to just start, Flash is a great place to begin.
Okay. Why do you think game reviewers frequently disregard music when reviewing games? Is music just generally not as so integral to a game? I personally think it's because a lot of them don't feel qualified to comment on it, or just they don't feel that it is as important as it is.
So there's a joke amongst sound designers, and often I hear composers, but mostly because they heat up their sound design. But that gets repeated a lot in the game industry, which is if your game sounds fantastic, they'll give it a really good graphics score.
Yep.
And it's kind of true.
Same for editing and a lot of other disciplines. If you do your job really, really well, nobody will notice. So, but a lot of people have been asking this in a lot of different places too. Did we check out Katawa Shoujo? And if yes, what do you think of it?
I have not yet.
I haven't either.
I will confess. If you guys say it's good, I'll try it. I plan to try it anyway. But if you guys say it's good, I'll get all the way through it. It frightens me, to be frank. I am unsure because my belief is looking at the little bit that I have, it's either going to be great or it's going to be terrible. No idea.
Let's see. What do you believe is the single largest obstacle preventing games from being accepted at large as a more serious artistic medium?
In part that not everyone has played games, right? That every other artistic medium, every artistic mass medium at least, you can expect people to have seen a television program or heard a piece of music. But you go up to people and they've never played a game, right? Or at least in their mind they haven't, right? I ask people all the time, like, hey, did you play solitaire? And they're like, oh, that's not a game. And I mean, I get the same thing with a lot of things. And like, do you go to trivia night at your pub? I'm like, oh, that's not a game. So it's that misconception that games are not what the word means, but this very specific subset that in general has not tended to stride as ardently towards the artistic.
All right. Trying to get to the intelligent ones while we still have you. Not that the other ones are stupid, I'm just saying.
Wow.
I'm going to ask a question. A month ago, I tried to talk to a former teacher, not one of mine, about gamifying education, but I feel like I didn't make really of a dent of an impression about it. The feeling I got from them was, it sounds nice, but what happens when a kid just doesn't want to do the work? At least, I think that's what the general argument was. I'd like some advice on how to better represent the idea, especially to non-gamers or those in generations preceding my own.
So, it's tough. It's pretty easy to sell teachers on Khan Academy. So look at Khan Academy. I think there are some dangers in Khan Academy because it relies mostly on your Skinner box. After that, I wish I had a better name, but look up Not Prawn, right? And show that to your teachers and say, we can do this for anything, not just how to use your browser, not just how to explore the internet, but for any subject. But I do think that you need to take the first very academic approach of showing them it used in a setting that they understand.
Okay. Are you bronies? Tell the truth. Well, I've answered this a few times, but
yeah. What is your answer, Dan? What is your answer?
All right, fine. I was asking this actually particularly while you were still here because I don't think you've ever answered it, but I'm guessing the answer is no.
I believe my answer is smoke bomb, dive roll.
Interesting. Okay, well, for my part, I haven't described myself as such, but I do enjoy the show, and for a few different reasons. First, their studio is 2 blocks down from my studio, so I've actually gotten to know a few of the guys who work on it, and they're a bunch of it's really cool people. Other reason is that I'm really impressed by that they took what is effectively a marketing exercise, hey, we need to make something that will sell toys, and gave it to somebody who was a really talented animator and story artist, and she like decided, damn it, I'm going to make something good. I don't care like how stupid this should be. So it's like, it basically shows that when you give something to someone talented and skillful and someone who like is dedicated to making something good, it can, even if the source is My Little Pony, which shouldn't be good, it like they can still make something good. And just personally, animating at Pixar, 3D stuff, I don't know, you're not animators, but like working in 3D stuff, and especially in a Pixar style, there's a lot of emphasis on polish, and just 3D stuff is about a lot of really subtle, very tiny little things, and just working on lots of just really polished, very semi-naturalistic stuff. So coming home and like throwing on something really cartoony and super simple is like a nice refresher for me. It's fun just as an animator getting to enjoy something a lot different than what I work on. So that's a long answer. Yes. Anyway, while I do think video games are art, and there are some very good life-enriching games, we've yet to hit our Moby Dick or Schindler's List, really, at this point. What do you think is the main thing that might be holding us back? Is it technology, or the costs, or the economy, developer-publisher relations, the market, or are we just kind of still in an infantile state of media?
Well, it's this interesting question, right? Because you think about where Moby Dick and Schindler's List come in the history of those mediums, and they're fairly late. On the other hand, we clearly also haven't hit our Odyssey, and we haven't hit our Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, right? To me, what's holding us back from that is the viability of radical experimentation and acceptance as an art, right? Because in those other mediums, it was actually substantially cheaper to experiment, right? By substantially cheaper, I don't necessarily even mean cheaper. I mean that one person alone could do it, so there was much less of a hurdle to begin exploring these things. On the other side, you had either no concern because we didn't have a strict concept of art at the time, much less not at least the social construct that we have today, or you had a strong backing, you had a strong belief in these mediums as art, and so you had all sorts of societal benefits outside of money for creating artistic work, which we're just starting to get for games, right? We're just starting to get to reward the artist for works of that nature. I mean, I think that it's interesting to me that Dear Esther is getting its re-release. I'm very curious to see how that'll go.
What's the best way a consumer can affect the course of the game industry? Is voting with our dollars really the only way we can influence the process?
No, there's a ton. Voting with your dollars is a great one, but there are other ways to vote with your voice as well, right? I mean, here we are talking right now, but you look at all the people who write influential blogs, work at, it's consumers working at Destructoid and Kotaku and Rock Paper Shotgun, right? And then there's the third option, which is join the industry. I mean, you may not believe that that's an option for you, but especially for those of you guys who are like, just barely out of college or whatever, there's plenty of opportunity. So there are a lot of ways. The most direct for most of us is the choices we make with our money.
What do you think of the recent Nintendo games that try to appeal to newcomers by offering handicaps and easy solutions? Things like the Super Guides in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, the Invincibility Leaf in Mario 3D Land, the Sheikah Stones or Fi's hand-holding in Skyward Sword. I think they insult the player when they're offered. I much prefer the approach of Kirby games, making the main story easy and satisfying for newcomers while putting in extra challenges for the veteran players. Thoughts?
Epic Yarn was fascinating to me because you side by side Epic Yarn and some of the things that you mentioned, and Epic Yarn feels much less like you're being handheld, even though it's actually an easier game because it's functionally impossible to lose. On the other hand, I don't think there's a problem with broadening that base and allowing for both harder core, or how you want to put it, and more casual players. The problem is beating people over the head when the game is saying you're not good enough, right? And that's sort of what some of these more recent Nintendo games did. So I think there are better approaches to that.
I see some people are asking things that I could answer. I'm holding off on those for the time being since we've only got you for like 5 more minutes.
Yep.
Let's see here. What do you think about Let's Plays as a source of critique and documentation? Do Let's Plays go too far about infringing on copyright issues, or is recording a game vastly different from recording a film, let's say?
I'm willing to jump in, but do you have any thoughts?
I like the format of the Let's Play if it's done well, and in a way it is kind of different from... Obviously, if you're just... I guess there's things like riff tracks, maybe, which is like the closest approximation I can think of for a film that's actually like a recording and with narration that is adding something. But even that, it's... I enjoy them. I know it's kind of like a weird fine line copyright-wise, but I would not want them to go away. But
to me, I think they have immense value in terms of allowing people to look at the history of our medium, right? Look at, because there's a lot of games, I mean, even now, if you're going through college or whatever and you're the most ardent historian, you are not going to be able to play everything that was out there. But you may be able to watch the salient portions of Let's Plays for a lot of these things. And additionally, if you're a student of design, while they do not substitute in any way for actually getting your hands on the game, they do allow you to look at specific parts and start to understand. So I think that there's actually a huge value in terms of people just archiving massive amounts of play that can then be later accessed by other human beings around the world. So we can have conversations. You and I can begin talking about a game that I have never played or that you have never played, and in a few hours, we're able to at least begin that conversation. I have a place to go to show you what it is that we're speaking about, which I think has value.
Okay. This person asks what date you're speaking at VFS, which you can watch the recording later and see it in my browser. But we should I guess announce that at some point. Maybe we'll post that on Facebook or something for anybody who's at VFS.
There's one person I wanted to grab, and then we can grab one more too. But there's somebody who
go ahead. Yeah.
Very much wanted to know they were about to go off to college, what DigiPen offers, and what it costs. DigiPen is expensive. I don't know the exact costs. I mean, it's pricey. It's not going to be competitive with your state school at all. That said, it offers basically a bachelor's in fine arts, a bachelor's in computer science, and the computer science is, I mean, a killer program. I mean, it's really high up there in my opinion. It's their oldest program. There's also a bachelor in arts and game design and a bachelor in science and game design, which is basically a game design major with a CS minor. And if you take with a game design, I recommend that particular program. And then, of course, we have a master's in computer science. And those are the only programs taught. You're welcome to email me about them. If I can't answer your questions, I will certainly forward you to somebody who can. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if any of you guys have questions about DigiPen, I can help there. It's not the cheapest, and if you are looking to go into designer production, I think it's a very good school, and there's a lot of value there. But I think there's a lot of value in some traditional education as well. And if you're looking to go into computer science, well, we have a killer computer science department for games. I mean, for games, we're certainly competitive with the best the U.S. has to offer. At the same time, if you have an opportunity to go to CMU or MIT, or some of the other top tier schools, they may offer you broader options. If you get halfway through school and decide that you really like security rather than games, they're going to give you more options in those fields.
All right. Well, let's give you a nice easy one to go out on. What's your favorite food?
Orange juice.
Nice. I wouldn't have called that one. Very nice. All right. You need to go. And
I do.
I'll stick around just a little bit longer. And
awesome.
But yes, if you would like to say goodbye, now is take it away.
All right, thank you guys. This has been a blast, and thank you all for watching the show. Like, it means a great deal. Take care.
Totally. Bye. All right. See you later, man. Now we get to do something interesting. Now I get to try out something to swap to just straight using my camera input. So now let's see if this kills the feed. Sit tight. Oh, it's not going to let me do it. Boo. All right, well, let me try something else. Hack together a... this is so unprofessional. I'll have to think of something better than this in the future for when Skype is done. So here we are. So I guess we could say it's officially done, but if we want to, you guys want to ask a few more questions, I won't be able to answer a lot of like industry stuff, but if you guys would like to, wait, so you guys, wait, Inception, what's this? Oh, okay. Oh, I see. All right. But I can try to answer a few more before taking off for the night and trying to finish Zelda. So, yes. But before we start, thank you guys so much for, like, I don't know how many of you there are in here right now, but, like, this has been a lot of fun. If you guys want us to keep doing this, like, maybe I'm thinking once a month, maybe, or something like that, then I think we could definitely do this. And I really want to get Allison. I know at some point we will, I may decide to schedule the next one only for when we can get Allison. So if that sounds all right. You guys have stuck around a long time. This has been going on 3 hours. It's a long time. So let's answer questions. Someone was asking earlier what I thought of Skyward Sword. I wanted to enjoy it a lot more than I have been, honestly. Like, I've been trying to write down, like, the list of pros and cons, like, things I do like and things I don't like as I go, just for this podcast I'm going to be doing it on, and it's coming up at about even. Like, honestly, like, there's... Weirdly enough, it's the motion controls that I am enjoying probably the most about the game so far, which is weird because I wouldn't have expected it, but it adds an element of novelty to a series that really needs it. So I've still been enjoying, like, just getting a new item or a new piece of equipment and seeing how the motion controls tie into it. I've had a good time with it. So I keep on seeing, like, Inception and backwards jokes. Like, is this, like, what's it doing? But yeah, it is held back a lot. Like, I don't like complaining about, like, HD versus non-HD and older Wii graphics and stuff, especially because the aesthetic is actually really nice. I really like the look for Skyward Sword, but it's concealed by so much aliasing and really bad, even for the Wii, really bad aliasing, that it's just unfortunate. And that in the game thinks I am incredibly stupid sometimes. It's weird. It's like it's not hand-holdy all the time, but sometimes it's very hand-holdy, like to the point where, like, I'm playing and I'm feeling like this game thinks I'm incredibly stupid. If I was actually as stupid as this game thought I was, I would not have gotten to this point of the game. I would have accidentally strangled and killed myself with the Wii remote cord. But anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about something else. Have I seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show? And if so, am I planning on watching the sequel, The Legend of Korra, later this year? I've only seen the original first episode for the Avatar: Last Airbender show and enjoyed it. And it's kind of on the list of stuff that I'd like to watch and to watch a lot more of later. And see, and I saw like a trailer for that Legend of Korra thing, and it looked great. Like, it's hard to do quality TV animation because just budgets and how much, and just sheer amount of content you have to put out. But so I'm always impressed with shows like Avatar that's like that actually put together a pretty well animated thing. So just noticed a model train in the background. I don't think I have a model train in the background. Let's see. Is Blender a good tool for real 3D work? I haven't actually used it. I've seen some people use it, and it's nice in that it is, well, free, right? So that's better than paying hundreds or thousands of dollars for one of the industry standard pieces of software. I haven't used it a lot. I've seen some people I've seen some shorts put together by people using exclusively Blender and did a pretty good job. But I think if you're wanting to learn, it might be something to pick up because again, it's free. So and I think I may be wrong, but I want to say there is a free version of Maya. It'll put a watermark on everything you render, but I think there should still be a free version of Maya you can play around with, and that one is an industry standard. So if you're wanting to learn on something that you might end up using one day, that's probably a good one to. It's probably a good one to use. Why is our Christmas tree still up? Good question. I like the lights, and we just are too lazy to take it down. Sorry. Do I watch esports? I wouldn't say I watch esports. I'd say I watch Total Biscuit. And thus I watch esports through Total Biscuit. So, and I mostly just, his commentary makes most anything exciting and fun. So, I will happily watch whatever esports he casts. And, yeah, Total Biscuit, man. He's good. I apologize. We're at the point now where I'm kind of going off script here because a lot of these things are much better for James or me and James together, question-wise. So there are things like, will we ever do an episode on Bastion because damn, such a great game? I agree. We really like Bastion. I don't know if we'll do an episode on it, but we did give it a big plug in the second Games You Might Not Have Tried episode. So that may be the most we do. I imagine if we come back and talk about it later, it'll probably be something specific about it that's really relevant to a topic we want to cover. Like, I imagine we could come back to it for some topic that I'm trying to think of like standout features of it. Like their narration is something I could see us coming back to refer to for a future topic or some sort of thing. This one's more. Have I ever met Total Biscuit? No. I would love to, though. I'd love that chance. He seems like a great fellow. Let's see. Do you think big developers should try to launch more niche, new IPs rather than milking existing titles? Ideally, yes. I mean, it would be nice. It's nice getting new stuff, but I don't blame them for playing it safe. Like, there's some companies I wish would play it less safe. But, new IPs are nice, but making games is crazy expensive. And so, when a studio wants to assure that they will all have their jobs after the next year and the next project is over, I can understand why they go for a sequel. And, I mean, we do tend to like sequels as well. Like, we get tired of seeing endless sequels to certain franchises, but I mean, I think there are people out there who will say things like, it's like, oh, I hate sequels, which we could outlaw sequels, but like, I think everybody has a franchise where if a sequel title was announced in it, they would get all, yay, excited. So, let's see. If somebody made a video in our style, would I approve of it? If I didn't, I would be a jerk, because honestly, Like we were open about it from the start. Like our video format was pretty much borrowed from Zero Punctuation from the start. Like originally when I was making the first one as a project for class, it was inspired by Zero Punctuation because Zero Punctuation had just come out like a month or so before. So if someone else makes one in our style, I can't really turn around and get upset about it. And sometimes it's fun to see other people attempting the style. Sometimes I pick up a few things that I learn a few things that I could try applying to our own. But tell us about your work with Pixar. What have you worked on? What's your proudest moment working with them? I work at Pixar Canada, which is a much smaller satellite branch of Pixar up here in Vancouver. Around 80 people now working at it, as opposed to like 1,200 people or so working in Emeryville. So we're a lot smaller, and we focus on shorts. Two of which have come out now, which is nice because now I can finally talk about what I do. One of them was a bonus on the Cars 2 DVD called Air Mater. That was our first one that we did, which is just kind of like where it was our training almost. And the next one, I don't know if any of you guys saw Muppets in theaters, but the Toy Story short that went before it, Small Fry, that one we made as well. And we're working on others. And they're working on one that's like really entertaining. And I don't know, it probably won't come out till summer or something, but like it's really entertaining. I cannot wait for that one to come out. Yes, and I'm talking about the Happy Meal Toy Story short one. So yeah, we had a great time working on that one. Let's see, a progress report on the programmers episode with the Stack Overflow guys. The first draft is written. They sent us a nice long draft filled with, and it's not like too long. It's filled, like everything in it is good and worth talking about. So we're going to split it into a two-parter. It'll probably come out in about a month, roughly, I think. So, and I think it's going to be a good episode too. I need to get to working on revisions for that one, but it's going to be a solid couple of episodes. Looking forward to it. Does Pixar use Maya, or can you choose? Some departments in Pixar use Maya. And we have our own proprietary software that I use, but there are some departments that do use Maya, and there are several software packages that do get used at Pixar. Am I a man or am I a Muppet? That's I'm glad you saw the movie. Wasn't the Muppets good? I'm so happy. Like, I hope this brings... I'd love to see a new Muppet show come out and be popular, and that'd be so great. I'll go a little bit longer here. Just, who manages logistics on EC? It depends on the logistics you're talking about. If it's just... I'd say... me. If it's directly related to the show content coming out, like making sure that everything's getting done, that we're keeping on top of schedule, that everything is moving along, that's me. I kind of fill a sort of producer role in that way. But for a lot of the other things, like on the business side and like negotiate it, like James, that's all James, and because I just have no business sense to me at all. So yeah, like just negotiating things originally with the Escapist, negotiating things, getting us with Penny Arcade later. Yeah, all the stuff that's way more in James's wheelhouse. So yeah, it's a good thing we have him because it's not something I could do. Any advice for those who want to get into animation? Yeah, let's see. I guess depends on what specific advice you were looking for. Looking for schools? It depends on what you want out of the school. You can go to a 4-year school, and if you want that kind of 4-year school degree, there are schools you can go to for that. There's Savannah College of Art and Design. There's other schools like CalArts, Ringling, Sheridan up in Canada. There's some other ones. I'm blanking. well, there are others, but the one I went to that made the biggest difference for me was called Animation Mentor, and that's not a full 4-year school. It is a sort of like 18-month sort of special training course started by some people from Pixar and Industrial Light and Magic. Excellent school. I highly recommend it. And the nice thing is that you can take that from anywhere in the world. You do it from home. It's online only. So I cannot recommend that school enough. It's a lot cheaper than like in the long run. Like, it's a lot cheaper because it is so much shorter. And really, it does, like, for getting a job in animation, your degree is not really a big factor. It's really what you can do. Like, if your reel looks good, it doesn't matter if you never went to school. If your animation reel looks spectacular, then they will want you on their team. So that's kind of the best advice I can give there. Once graphics have reached their peak, hold on, I just lost my place. Once graphics have reached their peak, how do you think games will make themselves look even better? It's because I'm an animator, but I think animation is actually one of the places where we're going to start seeing the bigger leaps. Like, if you look at games like Metal Gear Solid 4 and, better example, look at the Uncharted series. Now, the graphics in the Uncharted series are good, absolutely. They're not, but it's not that they are mind-blowingly, like, better than in any of the other big AAA games that have been coming out. What's so much better is the character animation. Like, each one of those characters has their own way of moving. Each one of those characters there's just tons of personality in the way they move. There's just really in-depth facial animation. They've worked really hard and invested a lot of money in that animation and then that performance capture stuff they do. So I think that's a place where there's still tons of room for improvement. Yeah, we can make get higher and higher poly counts on screen, and we can do fancier rendering and lighting and higher resolution textures. I think animation's one of the big places where there's still tons of room for improvement that'll be very visibly better. So that's what I would like to see anyway, and it's very much animator centered. Does Allison add anything to Extra Credits episodes other than just the drawings? Like, does she add ideas or anything? She does tend to take it. She doesn't tend to really have much input on it until I have handed the audio over for her to get started with. But the art she does is more or less entirely up to her. Like, I'll occasionally give suggestions, more to be helpful than anything else, because it's just so much work. Any help I can add, like James and I can add for like finding a few images for her to use and such, are a big help. But she has added a lot of visual gags that I never expected or planned that have significantly enhanced the episodes in the end. So she does add something to every episode. It won't be in the narration, but visually she adds a lot of great humor and explanation. So let me see. I'll do a few more here before I go and try to finish my Zelda speed run. What was the name of the online animation school again? It was Animation Mentor. And there's some other online schools as well, but that's the one that I went to and that I highly recommend. Let's see. How do I feel about the HD re-releases coming out now? I like it. I really like getting to see older games kind of getting to come back and get another time to shine, looking good on current TVs and everything. So I very much enjoy it. I heartily want to encourage it, especially if it gives me that Okami HD re-release someday that I'm craving. That's seriously one of the prettiest games I've ever seen. Still. Sorry for the pauses. What podcast am I going to be on? Which I'm trying to finish the Zelda game for. It's Digital Gonzo. Let me make sure I get that right. Alex would kill me if I got that wrong. I used to do a lot to appear on the Digital Cowboys podcast a lot, and that podcast is over, but Alex still runs another one called Digital Gonzo, I believe, and I'm almost certain it's Digital Gonzo. It's Alex. I'm so sorry if I got that wrong, but yes, he's invited me to come on for that, which I'm very excited to do. I just have to make sure I finish it on time, so that'll be fun. I'm not currently reading through forum questions at this point. I'm just screening through chat right now, but let's see. I'll do a few more. I never did play Supreme Commander. Let's... Do I have any thoughts on the Persona series and its impact on video games and its future? I really, really like the Persona series. I've played 3 and 4, and I actually just bought the PSP remakes of 1, 2, and 3, actually. I really like getting to see a JRPG that tries something quite different, and not necessarily with the JRPG and battle mechanics, but just telling a very different story with a very different setting. I really love like the aesthetic design in those games. Like I love like the music and the user interface design, and just those games have so much style to them, and a great amount of substance underneath too. Like just between gameplay depth and storytelling and the characters, like the Persona 3 and 4 are up there with the Mass Effect series for me, with like party members and characters that I've cared about the most and gotten the most attached to. They are anyone who's not played a Persona game, I highly recommend get your hands on 3, or I'd actually say 4. I'd get your hands on 4 and yeah, give it a try. They are really impressive. What do I think of the new PSP? I have not looked very closely at it. I'm suspecting I'm probably going to end up getting it at some point because they're releasing Persona things on it. But honestly, handhelds don't fit into my day-to-day very well. I walk to work. I'm like an 8-minute walk away from work, and when I'm at work, there's not really a chance to play. And when I'm at home, I've got a TV over there that I play games on. So yeah, it's just. Have I played Catherine? Do I have any opinions regarding it? Yes, James and I both played it, and we were both a little disappointed in it. I think James is more so because I think he had higher expectations. But I still enjoyed it. I was really hoping Catherine would come out and it would be a game that I could recommend to people who didn't want to invest 80 hours in a Persona game, so that I could say, here, this is a smaller game by the same people that does the same kind of thing. Try this. I was expecting to be like blown away by the story and characters and everything, and the kind of just put up with the puzzle, climby Qbert sort of thing. I actually got into the like actual Qbert stuff a lot more than I expected to, and the story and everything was kind of a little more so. It kind of had a fairly weak final third, especially. So I still really like it. I'm glad it came out. I'm glad I bought it because it is something incredibly unique, and like I said like way back when, I really like getting to play or try to do something or play a different story or character than I've ever gotten to before, and it's definitely a really, really unique game. So I definitely enjoyed it for that. Let's see, favorite Pixar movie? I've never been able to decide. It's somewhere between Ratatouille and WALL-E and Toy Story 3. I'm not even gonna try. I like too many of them. Let's see. What is my opinion on Disney taking over Pixar? They haven't really. They own Pixar now. Like they've bought Pixar, but it's pretty hands off. Like they don't interfere with Pixar's working at all. They really just like enabled Pixar to do a lot. Like they really more like I think Pixar has a bit more of an influence on Disney now, like because John Lasseter and Ed Catmull are like the two like some of the top executives for Pixar are now in charge of like Disney animation as well, and like I'm so happy seeing Disney animation. Like it was kind of in a bit of a dive bomb for a while there, but like between Princess and the Frog, Tangled, and the new Winnie the Pooh movie, which is adorable, like they're on the upswing. Like I'm thrilled seeing that. I grew up on Disney. Let's see. I have not gotten to work on Brave though, and I haven't even gotten to see a lot about it just because I'm up in Vancouver, they're in California. I'm pretty physically removed, but I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to it, and I can't wait. But any thoughts on the game Studio Ghibli is working on, or Ghibli, Ni no Kuni? Do you think Pixar will ever attempt something like that? I can't wait for that game. I absolutely love, like, Miyazaki movies are some of my favorite animated films, and so the ability to play a game, it's like, in which they were involved is exciting. I don't know if Pixar would ever be involved in something like that. They could, but I don't know. It'd be cool. Just to imagine what that game would look like. Pretty good, I'd imagine. Will EC ever grow up so it can become easier to do weekly episodes and even a Q&A? In a way, it kind of is. We have kind of brought on some more staff, so to speak. Like, we've got Akono and J-Rod who've like built up the site and are continuing to like admin the new website, which is great because it's obviously something we couldn't have done just the three of us. James has brought in a nice girl named Kate, who's helping out with a lot of this kind of the behind-the-scenes stuff, just business things, like helping us finish up the rest of these Rocket Hub rewards. She's been incredibly helpful. And we're thinking of, and we're not 100% sure on, or haven't started on this officially yet, but we're kind of thinking of the idea of bringing in a couple of, like, seeking out one or two assistant artists, sort of, to work with Allison, and letting Allison kind of take the art director role, because it is really almost impossible for her to do. It is impossible for her to do any more than one episode in a week, especially since she works full-time, probably more than full-time, at her job at Vigil. So, like, if we had a couple of artists helping her out, then that would just mean just the more we could do, right? Like, more side projects, longer episodes wouldn't be a problem, just extra stuff. It'd be nice, because really time is our biggest limitation, just since we all do have jobs, too, in James's case. So, is it really so hard to draw one episode? Surprisingly, yeah. And I'd say this from experience, because I drew them before we started on The Escapist. And it's not that, I mean, obviously it's not like the style's hard to do fast. It's barely a style. It's my little tiny little glorified stick figures, and she's just copying that style that I used to use. So it's pretty easy to get a single drawing done pretty quickly. The problem is that there are to fill out an entire episode, there's a ton of them. You have to draw there's just a lot of things you have to draw, and it ends up taking a lot more time than you'd think. And honestly, when I did it, I spent half the time just kind of like pacing around the room trying to think of what the best drawing would be to visually explain what the narration is saying. Just finding the perfect image to, yeah. So when I did it, it would usually take me a full work week, like a good 30 to 40 hour week working on the things. So like, I know, like, I look at the episodes and I think it shouldn't take that long, but it does. So I think she can do it faster. But then I can. I'm sure she can do it faster than I ever could. And she makes my style look better than what I can do. I spent probably a good 15 hours or more doing the first minute of our second Games You Might Not Have Tried episode, since I decided to just do that just to do the art for that one, since it was just a tiny section, and it still took me forever, and it didn't look as good as what she does. So, let's see. What are your favorite games for the Mac platform? I struggle to get good ones, and I hate ports and wrappers. Or how do you work around the limitations of gaming on a Mac? Well, for a long time there, Blizzard's kind of your only friend, right? Because one of the only companies that regularly release all of their big games on Mac, and there are other ones that you can find as well. So they're not the only ones. Recently, however, I've finally got around to buying Windows and just creating a Windows partition on my machine with Boot Camp. So I have a pretty decent gaming PC all of a sudden, and I have been so thoroughly enjoying that, like getting so many years and years of great PC gaming I've not really been able to take part in, or games that I've been able to play but only on like kind of gimped console versions. The last 6 months for me have been pretty awesome. Just like I've been relishing all of my new PC gaming experiences. So yes, Boot Camp is what I would recommend if you have a Intel chip Mac, then getting a hold of Windows, installing a little small Windows partition, you'll be glad you did. Especially when, man, I just had my first Steam holiday sale just this year, and it was expensive. So League of Legends, yes, I have played some of League of Legends, and I do occasionally every now and then, but not a ton anymore. Partially because I just have, thanks to the Steam sale, tons and tons of games that I want to get to and try, but also because it's frustrations just built into the mechanics, and as fun as the games are, that's just the MOBA style game is that way, and when you're leaving your fun playtime off time more stressed than when you started, it doesn't work for me. That's why I can't. It's why as much as I appreciate the Demon Souls and Dark Souls, I can't really play those in my downtime either, because that's not a restful game to play. That is incredibly stressful game to play. It's very good at what it does. Frustration as a mechanic. That'd be an interesting topic. Am I the voice of Extra Credits? Why, yes. Why, yes, I am. Good question. Do I read comic books? Very few. I have made an effort to, Scott Pilgrim, exactly. Yes, that's one of the series I've loved that. And I have made an effort to go out and kind of hit some of the high points that I hear people recommend all the time. Like some of the kind of key Batman stories, like the Killing Joke and the Long Halloween and Dark Knight Returns and some of those other, it's like kind of those other big ones. I don't really have the time to. I barely have time to enjoy the two or three media that I really try to follow closely. Like, I want to watch a lot more movies than I do to kind of develop my tastes in that medium, but I barely have time to watch any. And I can never keep up with the number of games that I'm trying to play and keep up with. So, yep, Watchmen is another one. Thank you. I can't believe I forgot Watchmen. How did Erin Siegel come on board? She is someone Allison knew, I think from DeviantArt, and when she, it wasn't when she was injured, it was when she just needed a week off or something. Just needed a break for some reason. There was I can't remember what the reason was. Maybe she was on vacation. I can't remember. But yeah, she found somebody that she likes on DeviantArt, I think, or someone she's talked to before, and brought her on board, and she and Erin knocked it out of the park. So yeah, Erin's awesome. Erin is also responsible for I had never heard of My Little Pony or anything up until before that point, and then she randomly put an image from the show in that episode, in the episode she came on to do, and the comment section exploded with just excitement, and I had no idea what they were talking about, so I looked it up, and now I've seen it. Do I prefer 2D or 3D animation? That's a good one. Both, honestly. I work in 3D. I've done some 2D in school, but 3D is the one I know how to do well. I really enjoy 2D animation films and 2D animation in general, and 3D as well. They both have their strengths, and they're both good at different things, and some stories are better told with one than the other, I think. one more than the other, but I was raised on Disney features, so that there's a place in my heart for that. How often do I travel for conventions? Myself, rarely. Because Pixar is my real day job. If I'm wanting to go to any of these things, I just basically have to use vacation days, which is worth it in the case of like PAX. Obviously, I'm going down to PAX. MagFest, I just went my first time like a month ago, less than a month ago, and I want to go back because that was a lot of fun. But I just kind of have to really pick and choose. So, most underrated Disney movie, The Emperor's New Groove. I thoroughly agree. That is really, really entertaining movie. If anyone who hasn't seen that, go watch it. That's a really funny movie. Some people are asking me to join our Mumble chat room after this. For those of you who don't know, some of the members of the extracurricular community are regularly on our Mumble chat channel, and I've popped in there every now and then, not as often as I would like. I probably won't be on after this because, again, I have to finish playing Zelda, and that's over there, and I won't be able to press the key to talk, and honestly, my voice is kind of it's getting a little tired now, so. But I want to pop on there more often than I do. I try to when I can. I'll try to make a habit of doing it when I'm done recording and going and deleting all those, and deleting and just cleaning it up afterwards. But do we get paid for extra credits at all? We do, kind of now, yeah. We do. We always made sure that Allison was getting paid, and James did that out of pocket when it was necessary. But we are actually getting paid now, and most of the money still goes to Allison. I did get a little money for it earlier. I got the first amount of money I've the amount of money I've received for it, so it was different actually, because that was the first time I've been paid for doing any of this, but I don't mind. I still just enjoy doing it. But yeah. So we are getting paid properly and all that. No, Penny Arcade is very good to us. We really happy with those guys. I'm thrilled being involved with them in any way. Just fans of who they are and what they do. Let's see. Tip from Day 9 and Total Biscuit: honey, tea, and water. Keep the water with you when you are streaming. That's a good idea. I guess if we're doing these regularly, I'm probably going to have to get used to that. What is my take on games with cell shading? I really like cell shading, and it can be done poorly, and some games that do it, I don't know why. Sometimes it's just there's no point, but some games like Wind Waker still looks good, and Okami is probably one of my favorite looking games ever made. And let's see, what are some other good ones? Valkyria Chronicles, gorgeous. I think it can be used to great effect. So I would I love seeing it done well. But Borderlands, yeah, Borderlands. It's one of those, when I first looking at it, I was doesn't seem totally necessary, but once I got into it, once I got started playing it, I was like, yeah, I kind of like this. It at least makes it stand out and look a little bit unique, which is nice, because, would I prefer it have that kind of sort of semi-cel shady sort of look to it, or would I prefer it be just kind of look the same sort of attempt at photorealism as most any other shooter? And no, I prefer it do what it did. I've probably gone on long enough at this point. This recording, how many pieces am I gonna have to cut this into to get it up on Blip and YouTube? Maybe you guys can tell me. Someone else is asking, how far am I in Skyward Sword? I have just got, a little while ago, I just got the first piece of the song, and those of you who have played far enough know what I'm talking about. I feel like I'm getting kind of close to the end. But how many hours do I have left, do you think? This would be good knowledge. Let's see. I still have a lot of hours. 300 is more. You're lying to me. Chat, come on. Uh. All right. Well, I will. Let's see. I'll do like 2 more, and then I'll call it a night, because this has been quite a big, large, epic, massive first Q&A. I should probably learn how or when to end these things in the future. We can't have all these things going on for 3 hours, especially if we're doing them once a month. We don't need to be super crazy long. We'll just count this a big, crazy bonus first start episode. I'm going to stop talking. Good question. Let's see. How do I feel about pre-rendered cutscenes versus in-game animation? It's more expensive and sometimes interrupts gameplay, but does it enhance the narrative quality of the story? Pre-rendered stuff, I would just as soon everything be in-engine if they can manage it. And we're finally getting to the point where we can manage it and it's not radically different. Like, if your eye's trained, you can clearly tell, like, when in Final Fantasy 13 it cuts between something pre-rendered and something that's in engine, but it's a lot closer than it used to be. Like, it's closer than Final Fantasy 8, that's for sure. So I'm getting a call. Sorry, J-Red, I can't talk quite yet. I would like to see it all in engine, so it just doesn't break that flow. I would love in engine to look like look pre-rendered, basically, if that answers the question. Let's see here. It's a good one to end on. Do I smoke weed? No, I don't. I just look tired. That's not our last question. Let's do another one. Do I watch anime? If so, what is my favorite? I don't watch much. I tend more to hear about particular ones and look them up. And some of those I actually get really into. Obviously, the any Miyazaki movie is guaranteed. Yes. Awesome. I really got into the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya series for what, like, that. I was really impressed by that series in general. Let me see what else. Some other movies like Summer Wars that came out a few years ago, a couple years ago. That movie was really enjoyable. Some other just occasional ones like Paprika, or classics like Akira and stuff like that. It's just I don't keep up with many TV series, but I try to hit all the big good features and all that. But yeah. Oh, that's right. Persona 4 got made into an anime. I think I might have found and watched the first one, and it was pretty entertaining. It's fun. I might try to track down and watch the rest of it, just because I really like the story, but I don't have 80 hours to put into it again, as much as I enjoyed it. But let's call this the end for tonight, because I have to learn to stop it somewhere. So, in closing, thank you guys so much for coming to this and for staying for 3.5 hours. We will try to do these more regularly. If you guys enjoyed this, like tell us on Facebook or our forums or somewhere if you've been really enjoying this, and we'll try to get Allison in. We'll try to get some other guests in. We tried to get Stuttering Craig and Graham from Loading Ready Run in, but Loading Ready Run had a thing they were doing at the same time as this, so couldn't make it this time, but maybe next time. Anyway, thank you guys all so much for coming to this. I need to be near the mic. Thank you guys all so much for coming to this, and I hope you all have a lovely evening, and take care. And now I go and bring up the thing and end stream.